they had like no rights. I think like UPN like basically destroyed like they like when they went down with the sinking ship with the Titanic, they like took all the rights with them. So Scott Adams got totally obliterated. But Dilbert was my favorite show. One of my favorites, the animated series. Although I don't like Kathy Griffin, but she did do Alice pretty well. That was,
there's that show, and then the almost non-existent, impossible to find Drew Carey show were some of the best that I can remember just watching. And you can find clips of it on YouTube and stuff. Like, it's not particularly hard to get a hold of, but actual physical copies, because I don't think it's streaming anywhere. And so it's just like, it's a rare gem to see basically Drew Carey trying to do his own like sitcom, but it's more or less half the cast of Whose Line Is It Anyway anywhere. So it's perfectly it's just more of that.
I used to watch that show when I came home from school, because like I would try to like wait for Futurama, so like watch that. But then I ended up liking them. It was like the Steve Harvey show. It was on Peachtree TV, and it was Drew Carey. Then it was Futurama. Speaking of rare gemmies, I remember a few weeks ago I mentioned the Canadian show Kink. Well, boy, do I have a story for you guys. I meant there's no streaming, no torrent, nothing of it, because they used to sell physical copies. Okay, I went through a wild journey, but I managed to attain the whole show. I managed to get a download of all 5 seasons of Kink from Showcase that used to broadcast after Trailer Park Boys, if you remember. I had to do some very sus things to get it, but I have it, and maybe I will review them. So, yeah, if any Leafs in the crowd remember, right after Trailer Park Boys on Monday night, they had the show Kink. I managed to get it by, DMing someone. But anyways, yeah, it was
Geo's
wild.
eternal search for content to review that's utterly depraved knows no bounds.
Yeah, that's great. But anyways, I totally have to retweet your So
I'm glad that I'm not alone. Yeah, the Drew Carey show is great. Frasier only on the SNES. I feel bad when I'm starting to I'm going to be uploading these to Spotify and Apple Podcasts this month. And so it's going to be fun when I eventually have to introduce a brand new audience of listener to the ever lovable YouTube chat where we have people like Spasticus Autisticus and Frasier only on the SNES.
Oh my god! You'd be surprised. Spotify does get consistent views. Like it does. It actually is rewarding. Because like you'd be surprised how just like not even interacting with those people, how you'll get numbers. So yeah, it's amazing. But
well, even in Twitter, right, where like we've talked about it before, like your YouTube audience and the people that you interact with on YouTube are often not the same people you interact with on Twitter. And so I'll be in GCs and they're like, oh yeah, Prude's a YouTube person. Like, I'm not a Twitter poster. I'm not a thread guy. So it's just like totally different ecosystems that all interact. But it's always fun when you get to see bizarre crossovers like that. This is the second time Vanity Fair has written an article about quote unquote the new right. And it features all of my mutuals, but not myself.
Yeah, me too. I'm disappointed at that.
Yeah, same. I think that I would have pierced the media landscape by now, but so be it.
I mean, I'm sure the CBC will write a hit piece on me one day, but that'll be fun.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I know it's coming eventually it'll come for our friend Turnip Seed, nonetheless.
Oh yeah.
Recent theological battles with the LCMS.
Yeah. But before, the Scott Adams clip was wild. But anyways, I had this rant I was going to do about people saying that if you like chubby women that you don't appreciate beauty. I mean, did Peter? I said this to Starbard, and I'm going to call him out. Okay, that little. Never mind. But I said, I'm like, you mean to tell me that Peter Paul Rubens Does not appreciate beauty. Oh, I get it. Because he was of a certain ethnicity, then therefore he doesn't really appreciate beauty. I get it. Okay, but I mean, if you look at Rubens' women, how can you not say that he didn't appreciate beauty? I mean, I don't know. Listen, listen. I love my mutuals. Okay, I love Med Gold, but he's wrong. Okay, he's wrong. I think that women that are a bit never mind. I'm just saying. Okay. No, but I do get it. Like, there's a limit, of course. Like, a huge fat woman, obviously, but listen, Renault fault women. Come on. It's not.
I like how this is a mandatory within the first 15 minutes of every show. We have to have Gio's women rants. I should do more work into these, like what Dimes does on Blood Satellite, and just start editing these little graphics and sound bits on a soundboard. Gio's women rants. Just have little. That could be your shorts. Just take little clips from these and put them on over there.
You should. I've been lazy with shorts lately. I got to keep doing that. But no.
It's funny because like AA has gotten to the point where he's rather large and has a YouTube like manager or someone like who directly deals with his channel and stuff.
Oh man.
And so they've been pushing him to put up shorts. And so his like studio backlog for YouTube shorts is quite large. And so I can't wait for my subscription feed to be spammed with all sorts of shorts. It's always there.
I really should get on TikTok. I mean, that's what default wants, but I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of, I know Cold Bra has, Spinach Bra has, he made a meme of himself, Spinach Bra. I'm like, bro, like he's embracing the coal. He made a soy jack of himself. But
I mean, he had no problem posting a picture of himself looking over like a mountain vista, knowing full well that everyone was going to, go out and try and guess his height. Brave man.
Like the one Biggie Slonk video where he's next to he guessed his height by being next to this Minions like dispenser thing. That was with the Mr. Beast video. Mr. Beast gives out money for looks max surgery to incels. That was great. And then at the end, like Trump's like, oh, oh, that was hilarious. But anyways,
welcome.
We were originally gonna. Yeah, sorry, you go. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So welcome everybody. This is episode 32 of the Digital Archipelago. I thought I would take a play off of the going term of phrase, I guess, that people are trying to use, sensitive young men. And we're going to talk about sensitive old figureheads because this week has been a crazy week in terms of gatekeeping, hit pieces, and regular nonsense that we see all the time. But it just seems to be everywhere all at once. We've had Lomez giving a rather tame description of the Longhouse in regards to In First Things, which led to Patrick Deneen losing his absolute mind. We've watched
tough.
4 or 5 articles now in Hit Piece on Raw Egg Nationalist. There's one that came out in Compact Mag just today.
There's more.
Oh, there's been like 3 or 4 over the last couple of weeks. And then, I mean, the inevitable ongoing battles that we see all the time in the issue of gatekeeping. And I think that'll be a fun discussion for us to have today. Because some of this is just kind of sad. Because one of the things I noticed was that regular old folks with like Lomez's piece was like, oh, there's a blog, Alistair's Adversaria, and he wrote literally the same sort of issues in 2016. It's called The Crisis of Discourse Part 2, A Problem of Gender, which I'll link in the chat if you want to read it. And to me, it was rather funny because the article cites very similar things that Lomez did, and although his reference is Christopher Hitchens. Which is the Why Women Aren't Funny, which Skeptical Waves has recorded, and it got attention. And all the comment sections were it's basically the what if you didn't have breakfast this morning meme. It's like, well, what do you mean women aren't funny? And it's just it's a good time. But it's just been an absolute mess in its own strange little ecosystem, which I think is rather a small ecosystem. I think as large as the followings are, I still think it's relatively small in comparison to, say, more establishment outfits. Maybe funding would be better to say. Maybe not so much following.
Yeah, no doubt. What was that leading up to? Oh, because like I thought we were going to talk about artwork this one, but I guess like
Oh, there's artwork to discuss. I mean, there are some beautiful pieces of art that have been recently on display that I'd love. The most recent work of art that I think could be framed in one concise picture and caption would be "The Story Begins: The Adventures of a Man Who Just Started Noticing Things." And that's because Scott Adams.
You sounded
he sounded he's just like he's the
There's
gears
no
are
fixing
turning.
this.
There's no
fixing
this.
There literally isn't. Well, I mean, apart from a few things.
Joined a hate group.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's the fun question.
By the way, sneed those super chats. I saw one already.
Why is the breakfast question a meme? Is because this is a rather infamous green text on 4chan, which at this point, God only knows how much of that is bots, Chat GPT, and whatever. I think the moment it started getting popular, and once the phrase "include me" in the screenshot got added, it was the death of all things. But there was a famous little thread that says that certain IQ ranges have difficulties with hypothetical questions. Yeah. And one of them, of course, being the classic, well, how would you have felt, conditional hypotheticals. How would you have felt if you did not eat breakfast this morning?
But I did eat breakfast.
Yeah, but how would you felt if you didn't? And that's the meme.
I actually didn't eat breakfast.
How does that make you feel?
I'm used to it now because I fast every day. So
good.
Yeah, that's part of my thing. So, oh no, how did you feel about it? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, you do, but you do get used to it after a while. It sucks. Like the first month in the summer I did it, it sucks, man. But after a while, like your body starts to get used to it, and you don't feel like as lightheaded anymore. But before this, we were talking with Dilbert, the animated series, and why we talked about UPN. But anyways, yeah. So hypotheticals, I believe. No, yeah, that's unfair, Fishy, because he didn't know about the meme. But I remember when it was on.
That was so funny.
It was with you and Eugippius. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I did eat breakfast this morning.
I did eat breakfast this morning.
No, this won't be a total drama stream, Lewis. But there's so much to laugh at, though. From the one thing that I would be remiss if we didn't bring up, and this will give a chance for Geo to get the rest of his stuff out and about.
Yeah.
Would be the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's Twitter account. I'm just going to share it on stream. This is a long thread. A little bit. I'm going to let everyone just have a fun look at this.
Post some Z's in the chat, fellas. Post Z's in the chat.
Is hosting one of the great epics of the century. We are Harry Potter and William Wallace, the Na'vi and Han Solo. We're escaping from Shawshank and blowing up the Death Star. We are fighting with the Harkonnens and challenging Thanos.
Compare that to Pootler's recent speech, and then you'll see what I mean. So it's
well, actually, this is something that I was talking with Christopher Sandbatch about earlier, because I thought that this is a fun little dialectic game that they're not actually there's some competency here, and it may not be the people who tweeted this out. Like, it's not going to be the moron, mid-20s intern that like has successfully gotten a job and thinks that they're going to go somewhere. But there is a dialectical bit that plays here into it, and I think that this is sort of important here because he messaged me because I posted this on Telegram, and I had said some things about it, but it says, this is the cringiest Twitter stuff I've ever seen. Not your comments, but the pictures, because there's also an article in Foreign Policy, which I'm going to be recording later this evening for patrons on Subscribestar and Substack, called What the Marvel Cinematic Universe Can Teach Us About Geopolitics. And I replied to him and I said, this stuff is really easy to counter signal in regards to saying this is cringe, this is bad. This sort of feeds into what our opponents or what, non-NATO. Well, right. Exactly. And I said, but all of this can easily buy into the counters from the Ruskies that say, oh, the U.S. is so gay, which pits people counter-signaling the regime right into the optics trap of their foes. And I said, it's almost clever because I don't know how smart these people actually are. He replied to me and he had said, well, it's really fun when you start noticing how the machine brain working behind all this cringe actually is. This is weaponized cringe. This is cringe psyops.
It's like what Thomas said about sending clowns to the rest of the world. So
all the group dynamics is about simplifying the world into wedge questions, just a long series of yes or no answers, which I mean is the perfect way to determine friend versus enemy, because wedge questions lead to states of exception against those who say no to the right sort of wedge question. And he's now convinced me to read some more, Marvin Minsky about K-lines, as Nick Land likes to call them, K-gorillas. But I mean, this is where we're at. And yeah, Tricky Woo, that was something that Oren McIntyre pointed out, was that this is a Oren McIntyre satirical tweet that comes true. I mean, this is the inevitable bit about right-wing Twitter or conspiracy, quote unquote, Twitter is that give it 6 months and it's reality.
Yeah, it's hyperstition. I think Eugipius had the best take where he said that it's like sort of the Western world, like the sort of rules-based order has gutted itself of like so many different mythological remnants that the only thing we're left with is like literal Marvel superhero movies, that are integral to sort of like forming the narrative, and I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like even like commenting on it's like so ridiculous that like it's not just that these institutions, like you could say that, and I truly believe this, that they weren't worthy of respect to begin with, right? I mean, NATO is always a crock, but at the same time, I do feel like these institutions, they have sort of debased themselves to such an extent that they feed into the sort of like total spectacle. But like this, like, okay, yeah, some intern just like posted this and it is what it is, right? Like, say no more. It's almost as if we're exhausted of takes. But at the same time, I mean,
yeah. So this is a journalist who decided to join the armed force, the AFU. So this is his story, and it's like a 10-point thread. But this
have fun getting domed in a trench and back, but by some Wagner conscript. But like,
yeah.
Go ahead, Prue. Go ahead, yeah.
But what is okay? I'm gonna stop sharing the cringe for now. But what does it illustrate that while this is sort of, I said while this is easy fodder for pundits and propagandists, this is remarkably confessional to the fact that the Western civic religion has long dropped its poetic eddas and songs of Roland for cape shit. Mm-hmm. If your national icons are merely fandoms and consumer identities, how well does that stand when you're asking people to give up their lives on that plastic altar?
Yeah.
Not that those in charge truly believe in any of this. They're far more Machiavellian than I think that a lot of people give them credit for. But it's an important thing to remember in all of this mess.
My hot take is that they will, actually. It's very effective. Like, it's like that. Yeah. So Sasan Haberi mentioned that journalist of a certain trans persuasion that recently got injured and what's funny though is she fought in that particular battalion that we all know, right? So yeah, let's say what you will about Russian Telegram channels. They always make a point of putting a certain rainbow flag whenever they discuss NATO or certain battalions. But that being said, like, my hot take is that actually is effective because people will run these because they have sort of like replaced sort of mythological narratives in the head of certain people. And I feel like as much as we can point out that this is cringe, that, people are going to die for a Marvel film, the reality is that, yeah, people will die for a Marvel film, or rather people will die for the world that produces the ephemera of the entertainment industry. You know what I mean? Yeah, please. I'm only using the pronouns because of YouTube, but because the Prude recently got to was it 8, 10K? What do you got? 9K. Okay, yeah. I'm almost at 5K. I like to think I built a channel towards 10K, but let's not drag up ancient history, right? that it's I gotta admit, it does kind of make me a bit better.
This is
though,
the ultimate. Your point, though, and you mentioned this earlier because I think someone had. When was this? Yeah,
Well, I wanted
Khalifa
to
had
justify the
quoted.
differences between the two, between mythologies. But yeah, go ahead.
No, well, the thing is that we've talked about a little bit of this before, in episode 24, Materialism Today, because someone had just recently liked.
That was a good title, actually. Man, that was a great one.
That was a good episode too, and
Yeah.
the clip was talking about literally what we're discussing here. And I was listening yesterday to Charles Haywood's claim that the regime is way more fragile than he thinks, and he doesn't buy into the sort of quote unquote wokeism as a religion sort of bit, because his argument against it is that, well, it lacks any transcendent qualities. That unlike, say, the Christian idea of transcendence, say deification, right, or communion with God in the Eucharist or in death and
or any sort of like samsara, really, any sort of like moksha, or well, I mean, you wouldn't call Buddhism a transcendental system, but basically.
But yeah, right. And so he says that because it lacks that, its religiosity is not as strong as people think it is. And you had made a claim in the episode 24 where I think that we're going to see that be put to the test, because I think that there are people that are willing to die for this.
Oh, yeah. Did I make that claim?
Yeah, you did. The Khalifa literally had clipped it on Twitter. I'll retweet it in a minute.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, that's crazy. I forget half the things I say. But like, no, I think that when people, there was this thread once, okay, it was some anime, and by the way, it was some VTuber, and recently this VTuber got into hot water because she said like I lived through my childhood loving Harry Potter. I don't care. I'm going to play as a wizard. I don't care what freaks say on Twitter, right? And all of a sudden, the same freaks that, the ones I'm talking about on Twitter, basically destroyed this person. And like something, like, I remember this one tweet said that, like, I can't believe you care about a video game more than trans lives. And I'm thinking, like, if these people make it to, like, 40 years old, right? We know this statistic ain't good. But I'm saying, like, listen, okay, I want to make a joke. Let me be as serious as possible. I don't want to like make the 40% joke, whatever. But I'm saying, like, a lot of these people, when they make it to middle age and they look back on their life and like, wow, I got pissed off at a video game, right? And I thought that this video game is a direct assault metaphysically to my identity as a trans VTuber. I'm like, wow, that's like, we could look at it from the outside as ridiculous, right? But I'm saying, like, when you look at the overall apparatus of how most people live their lives in these sort of like, not just media bubbles, but I'm talking about like the way that the culture industry instantiates someone's identity in general, you can easily see that people will fight and die for not just their entertainment, but the sort of identity that drives them towards these certain, beliefs and conclusions. So the question that this one VTuber did, this was like last year, it was a few years ago actually, that it was a viral thing where, what's the difference between like reading the Enneads? Of course, they're too stupid to know about the Enneads. He said, what's the difference between reading the Odyssey and watching, The Last of Us or whatever, right? So, of course, we could look at it that it's like, this is ridiculous, right? This is terrible. There is an obvious difference because the Ennead or the Odyssey spoke to the very foundation of like Western history, right? I would say world history. It spoke to the foundation of a people. And even though they don't have the same like mythological pole in like, a post-Platonic, post-Greek civilization world, they still have a sort of a memory that runs deep within the very like spiritual DNA of a people, right? Not just the Greeks, but I would say like Western European civilization in general. And you could say that these culture industry products, that they're not going to be remembered. I don't even think Star Wars would be. Sorry, I'm getting tired.
I don't think it will either. I mean, I would side very clearly because there's an XKCD comic. I know I'm invoking cringe. But he did talk about that. Like, eventually there will be a timeline where this stuff dies. And the comic ends with like, "May the force be with you." And it's like, well, what is that? And he's like, something my grandmother used to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that these things will die off eventually because, God, there's so much franchise fatigue.
Yeah.
The only reason why I know like Andor exists is because like Morgoth did a video on it.
Yeah. No, but my point being is that Gamergate was sign of the end times. Never existed. Gamergate never existed. There you go. No, but I think that there are obviously differences, but when it comes to like the sort of phenomenological experience of like, you grew up on Harry Potter, you didn't grow up on the Ennead, right? You didn't grow up on the on the Blind Owl. You didn't grow what's another national mythic, right? Like, you didn't grow up on it's hard to say if America has like a national.
Well, you didn't grow up on the stories of Paul Bunyan. You didn't grow up on any of the on the flow. Yeah, you didn't grow up with Mark Twain. You didn't grow up with Lewis and Clark. You didn't grow up with Paul Bunyan. You didn't grow up with Johnny Appleseed.
You grew up with J.K. Rowling.
You grew up, you grew up on J.K. Rowling. You grew up on the prequels. You grew up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and really crappy Vine, turned YouTube celebrities.
Right, but I think like. The more I'm examining, like I was watching this I think it was like more recent Caribbean Rhythms where he's like talking about like proto-Marxists and the E-right, like Tinksorg. And I'm thinking like, as compelling as the commodification argument is, and it is due to like late capitalism, commodification, all that stuff, right? But I'm saying like beyond that though, there is probably another explanation. There probably is sort of like some kind of like very unconscious, like archetypal content going on in terms of like who runs what, who determines the sort of productions that are produced by the culture industry, who determines even like why they become so fabulized. There's a very long history there of like how things have manifested in the way they did. And I think that like, okay, is Hollywood a bastardization in some regards of old mythological tales? Yeah, of course. There's always going to be various archetypal content at the base of it. But at the same time, I mean, when you look at the way that they totalize someone's experience at a very young age, you can say that they do become mythological content on their own, but they become so in a very like ersatz, very like pastiche sort of way, right? I mean, at the same time, it's true what Jung said, a fantasy is a fact, right? The fact that someone can say that, I lived through Harry Potter, I lived through this and that, it's like, yeah, to them it's real. Not that it's real, but like to them, the same like meaning of like an experiential phenomenon is real. Is it as real as a Greek sensitive young man in an agora being taught by Aristotle, reading the Odyssey and reading the Iliad? Is it just as real? Is Harry Potter as real to that VTuber as it is to them? No, probably not. But at the same level, there is something there. And it would be imprudent, a little pun there, imprudent, to ignore that reality, to why an official, like, let's face it, a NATO a millennial intern working for NATO would post such cringe, is because there is a pull there. There is, and I feel like it is worthy of study in some regard, that you could say that, okay, why it's just cringe, it's cool, it's whatever. But at the end, there's this long chain that was produced by the culture industry that arrived us at this place where we can look at very real geopolitical implications. Whatever you say about it, as we've said many times in the show, as I've said elsewhere, that this war will probably determine the course of history for at least the next few decades, if not more, right? So to think of things in such a cavalier manner, it's cringe, of course, but why though? And I think that is important to examine it. And it probably is important to like what people like, Morgoth and Blackpill and so forth, like what they do in like examining pop culture, because at the end of the day, this is what most people experience. Most people are not going to read even like novels anymore. Do people read? Maybe some people read novels and NFA programs, but do people read like series? Like maybe they'll read Franson, maybe they'll still read Critchin. God forbid they still read Stephen King. But are they going to read, things that are like proper novels? Are there any proper novelists anymore nowadays? Maybe.
I don't know.
Go and read Faisal's book. He
go read. Yeah, go read or go walk through any Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, or any chain bookstore. I don't know what the respective equivalent is in Canada, but the thing that I've noticed with all of them is that a lot of these are established names. There's always another ghost written Dean Koontz novel. There's always something written or had featured by Stephen King, or even presidents get in on it now. Or there was one about one written by Hillary Clinton and also one by Bill Clinton and other stuff. And it's always sucks. In the same way, like what even irks me is that like I grew up, and because my dad and my family and we all loved the movie Sahara, which is based off a Clive Cussler novel, which actually killed any future film adaptations of Clive Cussler novels.
Really, eh?
Yeah. Oh, it bombed at the box office, but I liked the movie. I mean, it's still schlock. It's still bad, but I like that movie a lot, and I still like it a lot. I think it holds up pretty well. It's absolutely, shooting down a helicopter with a Civil War ironclad cannon inside the sub-Saharan African desert is pretty damn funny. But I read the books, and on long car rides from, say, El Paso to where my folks are, we would listen to Clive Cussler novels, and like these are actually really good. But again, it's sort of he's passed away, and he also did a lot of like self-inserting of himself as this like rich tycoon that would conveniently save the characters. But his like sons have picked up on it now, and I've noticed that, and I saw that really harrowing bit where a lot of schools are doing they're like, oh, by like 4th grade, most kids can't read or do math.
Yeah.
And it does. I think that the novel is dead because the medium of where pop culture, even pretentious pop culture. So 30 years ago, what was it? It was Infinite Jest, and it was Gravity's Rainbow.
Yeah.
30 years later, you have streamers, you have YouTubers, you have memes, TikToks, challenges, and all sorts of stuff. And I think that does illustrate that if you can dumb someone down, right, it makes it a lot easier to control them. I mean, that's just sort of Machine Basics 101. But I don't know I don't know if the novel comes back. I mean, we've got novels on our side that have written good books and have written fiction that I quite appreciate. I don't think that they're War and Peace or the Brothers Karamazov, but they're good works for what they are. Like, I'm always going to recommend Tan Baltic's Nutcranker or Vinniculum by our good friend Semiagog, Oliver Perrin. And they're good for what they are. But I do think that the novel will probably fade away. And it's made an interesting bit where today's counterculture, and this is something that Jay Burden and the Distributists were talking about a few months ago, was that, even the whole concept of raw eggs or raw milk, that was like a hardcore shitlib counter signal 20 years ago, even 15 years ago. It was still a pretty hardcore, California hippie thing. The same thing with aversions to certain medical inoculations, all of which I think illustrates that side has kind of fully subsumed itself into the consumer identity. It was no longer, you're part of the regime, man, you're part of the system. No, I think that the mask has just sort of slipped to where fandoms and plastic altars and saccharine religions, because in the West, in our, I guess decadence would be the appropriate word, not to sound like I'm hampering too hard on the West as it is. It's got its own problems. Lord knows that we talk about it every day. But I think that one of the bigger issues that we're going to face is that in a cavalcade of consumer identities that serve as great forms of propaganda. I mean, in fact, Intellectual Takeout had taken advantage and wrote an article about, and that's Chronicles Magazine's thing. They had an article about the Yellowstone meme and woke programming. And I know that you and Oren McIntyre and Last Things were talking about that as well a couple weeks ago.
Hey, apparently I'm going to be on with Oren and Last Things this Monday.
Oh, fantastic.
There you go. We're talking about right-wing postmodernism.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question about that for you that we can get into today, because...
Oh, and speaking of Gravity's Rainbow, we'll get into that as well. that one account.
That one account named Gravity's Rainbow, which is great. I think
why do irony leftists picked up I remember when Bap he's counter signaled logo. He's
yeah.
People need Thomas Picton or other boring stuff nobody cares about. He was just hammering logo. And I love how logo he had the moment of sympathy from everybody recently and just snatched it away by simping for the Chinese and their, let's call it, speaking of dietary practices. Did you see that? That was
No,
hilarious.
I did see the video of I guess that Chinese couple taking those giant salamander-looking lizards and turning them into a meal.
Yeah,
A
Gros Chef
succulent
Gourmet.
Chinese meal. Where I just, as soon as I see a Chinese or an Asian child with a pet, I just don't want to watch the rest of the video. It's like seeing the live leak watermark on a construction site. You just don't want to.
Yeah, but you can't look away though. I guess it
yeah, it's like East Palestine. You can't look away.
Oh my god. No, but what happened was, for those who don't know, Logo was bombed with the Sam Hyde mass casualty incident. People the clip with the vape,
Where he's flipping off the picture and everything like that.
Yeah, it was about what university got it. What, I forget. It seems like it happened a century ago, but it happened only last week. What university was that? Was it in Chicago?
I believe it in Missouri or MSU.
Yeah. So there was media outlets that thought it was Logo, but then it wasn't. People it was a Sam Hyde-esque, type of meme. Cause Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
So Logo, it's funny because the anime racist, they'll post Logo's picture when someone challenges him, once you face reveal, coward. And it's a picture of Logo.
It's a picture of Logo vaping and flipping the camera off.
Yeah, but we were talking about it and I'm it's terrible, that type of info hazard. But then, Logo, he received immense sympathy from people, right? But what does he do? He destroys it by saying that I don't care if dogs and other animals get slaughtered. Because Logo, he's gotta simp for the Chinese now, so it's he immediately in that moment had to destroy every all the good faith of all these new eyeballs looking at his account. It was, Logo, what are you doing?
I think it does illustrate though, and we talked about this in DMs, but so that event happened to where the shooter was black.
Oh, no one talks about it. That's why.
No one talks about. Well, I mean, but I find it kind of disturbing, and I know that this is not to. I find it incredibly powerful to where even sort of the same shit that Spinach brought gets to deal with, where people make AI deep fakes of all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
To where a guy called Lindy Walker, which of course that's the meme, but the name was spelled out Lyndee is the middle name, Walker. Sort of a believable white person's name in the United States to be the victim. And they had all these histories and chats, and of course you can edit anything to look like anything. That had people going for about a solid 15-20 minutes that he was the perpetrator of this event. And I thought, well, how incredibly powerful that kind of weaponization of Twitter can be used, because that's where people go to for breaking news and live action resources. Because
exactly.
Even with the El Paso event that happened a few years back now, that was the same thing. People were looking for information on Twitter to know where things were possibly happening and how to seek cover and all sorts of stuff.
Was it the Sam Hyde one?
No, well, that happened obviously, but I mean, no. When I lived there when that event happened, and there were people saying that it wasn't just Walmart, but there were other stores being attacked as well at the same time, and so that kind of weaponization I think is incredibly powerful, and I don't know how I can feel about it other than to say, God bless. I really don't want that to ever happen to me.
Yeah, or me. You said that you're imagine if something happens in Canada and people would use your photo. I'm
the photo of you painting.
Yeah. Holy crap. Oh man, that would be terrible. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't happen. But I think like anyways, we didn't finish our thought about Gravity's Rainbow. No, I mean films now have become like pretentious pop in a way, like certain films. Um, but yeah, anyways, we're all over the place. No,
Well,
I think
I still have to
yeah,
watch Satan's Tango.
yeah, exactly. Speaking of film, I'm not joking to you, by the way. I'm not. This is no word of a lie. No word of a lie. When the night that thing happened in Michigan and like Logo, got bombed on, I was watching the Daily Wire mass fun post school film. No word of a lie. No word of a lie. Because, and it's the same theme about like social
what's your
media.
take?
I thought it was actually pretty good, but it was like the most incoherent film I've ever seen. Like it was like so like we'll get to it when we review it. But
Run, Hide, Fight, that one?
that one, yeah, Run, Hide, Fight, yeah.
Okay, then yeah.
Run from
There's
Sam,
3
hide and
movies they
fight.
have. They have 3 movies.
They have more
Run,
than that, I
Hide,
think.
Fight, Shut In. Oh, I just googled Daily Wire movies.
Yeah.
So Run, Hide, Fight, which is the mass fun poster event.
Yeah.
Shut In, and
where
the
Vincent
Gina
Gallo plays a
Carano,
crackhead.
the Gina Carano Terror on the Prairie Western.
Yeah, I gotta find that. Man,
I will torrent probably all 3 of those, but we will review the Daily Wire cinematic universe. But go on.
Gina Carano, man, it's no, but I just found it coincidental that I was like watching that film and I was like looking at my phone and seeing like Logo was being accused of a fun posting event. So it's like, man, reality does, I noticed like I do have a lot of synchronicities throughout my life where I can, but anyways, um, yeah, so about pop culture media, like it's no surprise that like this is the experience of people, and as millennials take like more positions of, I wouldn't say full power, but managerial power, then you'll start to see more of this more of this cringe, because of course, as you know, millennials, I feel like don't exactly have the same like meme plexes that Zoomers do, and you'll. Oh, and also another update. I just saw my feed here that Turkey Tom did a video that came out a few minutes ago on that VTuber that I was talking about. She got doxxed apparently by the anti J.K. Rowling people. So there you go. That's evidence that playing a video game will now get your life ruined because people care so much about media.
Well, and I saw this screen capped earlier since we're on because again, there is a religiosity to these things. I actually kind of disagree with Haywood's point about that there is no transcendence, because if you don't care about death, and that this was the point I was trying to get at about the Western sort of decadence thing, is that if you live in such a material wealth of conditions to where even people who are quote unquote poor are either have access to television's live streaming, etc.,
which never happened before, and they've never had access to fine art or media well, I mean they did in some ways, but not
sure in some instances. But I mean, in this day and age where they can wield so much influence because they have access to it, even though they are some lowly person that in previous eras they would have been looked at on the street, and they would have told their kids not to look at them or to cross the street in a not so subtle fashion. But there was a screenshot I saw where some individual, a trans person, had said, once again, I have so much influence, this sort of egomaniacal form of like, I am a god type deal, where they had said that, if you're going to play the game, you should have the opportunity to hide your achievements. And then lo and behold, there was some Polygon article that said, oh, they've now updated the game so you can hide your achievements on Steam, that so people don't know that you're playing this Harry Potter game. And it was absolutely bizarre to know that the culture that we are engaging in today is being rapidly controlled and dominated, and has been for a considerable length of time, especially in the rise of the internet, that caters and beholds and fetishizes impoverished, mentally ill, and disabled mentally or physically individuals in the same way that we're watching D&D have wheelchairs now. Of all the things that you can imagine yourself in sword and fantasy, it is now we've now entered the what was that god awful Tom Hanks movie, Mazes and Monsters movie that he
Was that the one?
Yeah, it was the Tom Hanks 1980s like satanic panic sort of like, don't play D&D because like I'll jump off a building and I'll think I'll be fine. But now it's just ran by people that have to dilate, and that's sort of where we're at.
Oh man. Yeah, Philip, I did enjoy your funeral march. Maybe I'll put it on the next Jenny Reviews episode. But no, but yeah, I feel, you know, what was your point there?
Well, my point is that where is the transcendence for these people? The transcendence, as Spandrel has pointed out, and Mystery Grove has famously pointed out, Jonathan Bowden has discussed, is that at the end of the day, the real transcendent bit is that dopamine rush of oppression that they get, knowing that they are outside of the normative lens of society, that they should not belong here, that they should have been carted off to the nunnery or the asylum, and nowadays they get to
off thee to a nunnery.
And nowadays they simply just get to go off and do exactly whatever they want, and that's their transcendence, is the fact that they have escaped what would have been determined to be their actual lot in life, because anyone can rise up to anything. And I mean, you even see that sort of class consciousness of sorts even on the right as well, because you see it, I think, a lot in the rural urban discourse stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we could talk about that a little bit as well, but no, it's funny how like these things sort of manifest in real life. Like the fact that you're willing to like harass someone over your video games, like, you know, the hiding achievement things. It reminds me of my old man playing chess on those chess sites where like someone will create a new account, like a chess master will create a new account with like a lower score, like a lower color.
Oh,
like
a sock account, so they can just sandbag new paper.
Like kind of like a pool shark, right? Like that's, you know. Fishy Frenzy, when will Fausti go and cut? Well, Fausti has a boyfriend. She'll never be on content. No, I'm kidding. Maybe in the future, Fausti will be. There's one interview with Fausti someone did that I'll probably, you know, she'll probably come on Content Minded soon. She's a good friend of mine. Chess Murphy. No, but yeah, it is funny though. Like, sorry, I can't get that picture of Mystery Grove out of my head, like obsessing over the new Avatar film. Like, I love those memes, like Patrick Casey like talk about Mystery Grove going to Avatar like 7 different times. The new Avatar movie. But oh my god. No, but yeah, so the pop culture governance is sort of very interesting because it's not like there's not a precedent for it, because mythologies have driven societies to go to war, to sacrifice one's life, religious fables as well, obviously. But I feel like there's a problem with analyzing the sort of one-to-one or chain-like relation between a society's mythology and their capacity to produce great things or to produce terrible things, such as war. I feel like it's too instrumentalized when you look at things in that way. Rather, you have to look at things that a society's identity and spiritual mission obviously will manifest eventually into some form of struggle that will constitute the lives of those people within that society. And there's a deeper thing going on than just like the media you consume influences who you are, blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like the problem with a lot of these culture industry products is that they don't have that sort of salience in terms of they can produce collective experiences, but collective experiences of consumption. You have to realize that throughout history, there wasn't a sort of relation between literature and the work of art the way that we contextualize them. They weren't considered as such. The Iliad was not like a quote unquote work of literature. Painting and artwork and dance and music, they weren't really aesthetic objects. They constituted a ritualistic practice in a society, right? They weren't like these franchises, if you will. they weren't aestheticized. And so when you look at it from that view, you can easily see the difference between something like, the Metamorphoses, right? The Ennead, you name it. The certain Asian, in Asia, you have like the Ramayana. In China, you have various dynasties having various epics and so forth. They have a different relation to, like, it's not a mere passive act of consuming a work of art. There's something there that speaks to a very integral form of practice that they have in life and even beyond life. So you can't, like, now that, like, the media and pop culture has, like, literally ascended to the point where these franchises determine life and death. I mean, well, that's kind of like, it's a very weird and hideous inversion of going back to, like, the purpose of what we consider the work of art to these, more ancient peoples, if that makes sense. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm saying, like, it's something, it's something now that I finished my review of Necropolitics. It's something that Mbembe says, that, like, actually representation is enough. In fact, the sort of politics of, like, this neoliberal obsession over representation, that, of course, he's approaching it from, like, a more of, like, a Marxist, critical theory, like, post-colonial angle, right? Like, he would approach it the same way that Tingsorg would approach it. But it's true, though, that representation is sort of like a sideline distraction. And to actually view these, like, epic culture war battles as, like, representation, that sort of defeats the point. That beyond that is like nothing, right? To see yourself being represented in media, it's a very empty victory, right? I mean, is it important? Yeah, but it's how it's important. Is it, as a Greek, as a Greek person growing up in ancient Greece, reading the Iliad, that's not representation. That constitutes who you are. That's very different than something like, I don't know, The Last of Us having, like, a bi-POC girl or a trans woman or whatever. Like, it's a very different relation going on. And finally, Fishy Frenzy, does Tingsorg have a higher IQ than Mbembe? No, he does not. Mbembe has I'd like to think that Akile Mbembe has a higher IQ than Tingsorg. But sorry, I mean, I've been ranting for a long time, so go ahead, Prude. I'm very sorry. But
no, that was really good. And I think that highlights a point that I think I don't want this to be like attacking people by proxy. Sometimes we do that on the show.
That always happens.
But it does on our usual lolcows, because I like to think that Tingsorg is the lolcow, I guess, of the E-right, because you either just start posting or you actually engage with the
engage in it, and then he has a convenient workaround for all of those things, by the way. But that's. Anyways, yeah, sorry.
No, so I think that you have a point where the transcendence is the sort of dopamine receptors of representation, that we've made something beautiful ugly. There's a point where the ideas of representation, the idea that, well, the transgression is enough. I mean, who's a better example of this? Roasting by proxy. There is no proxy. That's absolutely right, Mr. Anxiety Floppy. Yeah. You're absolutely correct.
By the way, Mbembe is from Cameroon, so.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh.
Someone asked in the chat.
So, gotcha. No, I can see chat. Yeah, there you go. What's the point I guess I'm trying to get across is that throughout, as long as there's quote unquote been this awakening of politics on it, and this is why I find Gamergate to be so hilariously funny, is that the sort of Western system of media had the perfect avenue in which you could keep a large chunk of males contained, where it's like, oh, they're not going to do anything productive. They can just shout slurs at one another and shoot each other over Xbox Live.
Xbox Live.
And remember, kids, they can never take away every mean thing you said in 2007 on Xbox Live.
Oh, man,
they'll never take that away from you.
Yeah, it was wild.
But the issue at hand is that, well, it was never enough. And it's never enough to this day, because the way that it goes off is that we are in a point where, why does the left always act like it's in perpetual revolution? Because it sets itself to superhuman standards, transcendental, godlike standards that it can never achieve, which always constantly puts it in a state of perpetual revolution. And if you cannot achieve your goals, then you are always in fear of losing power, or that you're always in fear of looking and taking a step backwards, that we're somehow receding into the woes of, say, fascism or totalitarianism, or as to quote the third essay of Bio-Leninism, you'll be left all alone. It's 1950 again. It'll be okay to be white and no one can save you. And all this time, it illustrates that there's a lot of success that those people had pulled off, but it's still not enough for them. Those great gems in the midst of all of that progressive coal that you have found and the pressures of which, such as like the original Last of Us, which did tell actually a really good story and could probably be novelized, or it has been ripped from novels elsewhere. And then all of a sudden, now it's like, well, we're going to televise it years later. We're going to remake it. We're going to make a sequel, and we have to kill everything that you like.
Ron Swanson's gay.
And Ron Swanson's gay. And the reason for that is because it's never enough to these people. It's all-encompassing ugliness. Everyone has to be ugly. Everyone has to be outside. But they don't see it as ugly, though. You're absolutely right. They don't see it as ugly because representation is beautiful.
Yeah,
they don't. That's the thing that the right wing doesn't get. Is that representation to them is beautiful, it's transcendental, and it offers a sense that this is the world that they actually want. There is still that chiliastic utopianism that exists, even in the ugliest aspects of there. And so the right wing will look at something like, there was a recent clip of a supermodel runway show where you had sort of a slender Nordic blonde woman walking, and then what had transitioned to the next person to come on was an overweight black woman who was an amputee hoddling around with a prosthetic limb.
So many diversity points.
So many. It hits almost all of the intersectional markers. Now, if she's a lesbian, it hits even more. Yet, all of those things that come out of this is that to them, that's beautiful. And to them, the beauty is in the representation, the beauty that is in for them. Whether they believe it wholeheartedly, whether they were programmed into it or not. Because sometimes someone just starts to notice things, and even the more boomer takes of people like Scott Adams will start saying ridiculous shit very quickly.
Yeah.
But that disgust comes out of, for us, it's natural inclination, because I think that the right is intrinsically programmed to think things like culture, tradition, hierarchy, beauty, things which has seen a very Nietzschean transvaluation towards the inverse now that is brought up. And so, they want to kill God again. That's where we're at.
That runway, I was going, like, the whole time was like, yes, no, maybe, yeah, like, no, like, so.
Oh, I'm glad Spasticus got you there.
Oh, man. I feel like it's what they consider beauty, like representation is beauty, is that I think they would consider, like, again, egalitarianism itself is like this wholesome Chungus impulse to, like, love the whole world, we are the world, and the fascist beauty standards like worships like selectivity and the cult of excellence and so forth, and then all of those things inherently lead to values that lead to, like, the painter of Austrian landscapes, like, coming up from the grave again. I feel like that's how they justify it, because, like, again, like, you people, you may think I'm weird for, like, enjoying, like, certain not entertainment, like enjoying certain things that maybe, like, I shouldn't, or like the libs think, like, celebrate or whatever. But I do think, like, you should invest time in, like, okay, why do these people find meaning in certain things? And it's funny because, like, when I was rewatching some of those old episodes of Kink, right? It's almost quaint in that this is like the early 2000s, and all of the same, like, culture war stuff is still there, but in, like, a much more, not like tolerable, but, like, how shall I describe it? Maybe because it is the early 2000s and my millennial brain is kicking in and, like, whoa, wow, this is nostalgia, right? I remember, like, watching Trailer Park Boys, then watching this. Like, no, but I'm saying, like, it was much more, like, quaint in a way. This is what Matthew said when I showed him the episode that is on YouTube. He's like, wow, this is actually quaint in a way because it doesn't have the same, like, it still was an underground thing. It wasn't like a obnoxious, in your face culture industry creation. This still had, like, an element of transgression. But, like, when you do, like, view things that, like, when you view these, like, very abnormal paraphilias that people are into, it's like, okay, is there, like, some underlying mechanism there, like being abused when they were kids? Yeah, probably. Is there some kind of, like, abandonment issue there? Yes. But it is interesting when you do view things through the eyes of, like, this is this is represented in a way of what it is or what it was, which is like, this is an underground thing. This is what people do. This is their kink, whatever. But now the reason that these things, the reason I feel that they're no longer, at least from a right wing perspective, they're no longer like tolerable in terms of an intellectual curiosity is because they're so in your face all the time. Like there literally are the culture industry. Like there literally is murals of like a like do you see the libs of TikTok video where it's like the guy in a bear mask is like the gay bondage thing? You saw that, right? The mural in like some, I think it was like downtown Seattle or whatever.
I thought it was in Australia.
Oh yeah, sorry, it was in Australia. No, but like the point being is that they become, it's almost like as they become disempowered by being in your face all the time, and they lose their capacity for transgression, you very quickly can't find any sort of like redeeming qualities in them, either as intellectual curiosity or extreme versions of artwork, which is what Virilio covered in his essay Art and Fear, where he talks about the artist Steltak using like extreme body modification in these like performance pieces. Like all that's gone now. Now it's like when it becomes like daytime talk show that like rich liberal white women watch, then it's that's like all of a sudden you become like, all of a sudden it becomes this like incredible apparatus for kitsch. And that, like that runway you were talking about, all these examples, they become kitchified. They become the very like self-contained, like, heckin' wholesome, valid Reddit nonsense that we all beef on, right? Because there's an element of kitsch in them, because they're so like emphatically promoted by every avenue of like mainstream society. Then they become objects of derision rather than like that show Kink, where they recognize that, yeah, this is like a niche underground thing that not everybody's going to understand, blah, blah, blah. Like it's very much now it's like, it's
now
like,
everyone knows what a bear is.
Yeah. It's like the sort of like boomer liberal, like, oh, my valid trans daughter, it's so wholesome, we have a family moment together at the drag story hour. It's like that's what they want. It becomes like, so when the right wing talks about beauty standards and how they worship ugliness, to them they're not really worshiping ugliness. They're worshiping something that they feel is a new standard of beauty because it invokes a fake sentiment of like, this is my wholesome this is my wholesome trans daughter. You know what I mean? So I feel like the right wing that talks about like, oh, they worship ugliness, blah blah blah. Like, it's not really what they're doing.
Standards talking past each other.
Exactly.
And this
100%.
is why Covey Anon is correct when he says that the woke is more correct than the mainstream. And I wish more people understood that. Why? Because the woke has its own answer to sort of the common liberal tropes of things that we know. Say, if you're like have any reactionary gut feeling about why, say, certain aspects of liberalism or egalitarianism or democracy doesn't work, the woke understands that way better than probably most boomer cons and probably most people on the E-right do, because they have their own way to get around it. They do, in fact, know that there are innate biological differences between people. That's why there has to be representation. That's why there has to be these things, because the standard of which is to bring them up, which is to bring them, as you had mentioned, into this aesthetic vision where all are included and incorporated. Because screw egalitarianism. You got to bring people out, whether that's through equity, liberation, and so on. And I mean, this is the nature of how it works. And I think that that's where a lot of people fail to realize. It's like, oh, this is just ugliness. This is so atrocious. Like that, mural of George Floyd on the wall that got struck by lightning is just gaudy. Why would they represent a drug dealer? And it's just, again, we would recognize in a law and order system that, yeah, those people should probably be oppressed by law enforcement officials and probably should be in jail. However, woke being more correct than the mainstream, knowing that there's some certain issues with regards to either race, class, differences in economies, amounts of taxpayer dollars flowing into things, recognizing the faults of that system, they're like, well, no, I says he's a martyr. And so I think where you get a big chunk of the problem that exists, and maybe I should get Covey Anon on one of these days to talk about it more, is that it seems like an inversion to us, but to them, it's a radical and very quickly deployed alternate aesthetic vision that may seem kitschy to right-wingers. And we talked about that when we covered Borstein's book. And it may seem kitschy as hell to right-wingers, but to them, you are actually creating and flourishing a new culture, a better future, and so on. Like, this is the funny thing about this.
It's literally the Kabani solar punk commercial.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. That's what they want. That's what they want.
Yeah.
That magical world where somehow my luxuriously automated space agorist communism takes place, and there's no white people, only abuelas. No Anglos, just vibes. And
no Anglos, just vibes.
That's what they want. And so you're getting, I'm sure eventually, we'll get a nice Jim Jones mug on somebody's, bread tuber merch store, and they're going to talk about the need for bringing everyone together, that kind of vision. Like, we're getting there. But Lord have mercy on us, because that's where we're at. And I just think to myself that a lot of people don't get that. And even the more older established sort of grifters are beginning to get that too. It is opportunism, but sometimes facts will come in their face and do it. And I wanted to talk about, because I think this has been a fun little feature.
I have one more point though, but yeah. You wanted to talk about?
The one thing I wanted to just quickly insert here was, well-renowned, I guess a terrorist sympathizer would be the appropriate word, and racial communist Angela Davis, who I've had the unfortunate displeasure of attending a lecture of.
Really,
Yeah, she came to my university a few years back, and I just had to sit there and listen. And I was just
what was that like?
It was very... I was actually really unimpressed, because the lecture was just sort of these really boring...
I read her book. I was very impressed. Yeah.
You read her book and was impressed?
I was okay. I no, because I feel like there's better prison abolition books that are more hardcore, because at the end she concluded that actually this is a utopian vision, it might never be true, but it's whatever. She's more of a synthesizer of radical ideas for the mainstream NPR listener than actual people doing work in academia. She's basically the pop tabletop book of left radicalism for NPR listeners, for effete NPR liberals. What does Michael Savage call them? People that eat quiche. It's But yeah, go ahead. What happened? I'm curious now. What'd she talk about?
So it was in the middle. When was it? It was 20. I think it was my last year.
You don't want to dox your university?
Oh, I mean, I've said it before. I went to UTEP. It's okay.
You went to UTEP?
No, UTEP in El Paso. Our only famous alumni is Mia Khalifa.
Whoa!
So I've got that going for me, I guess. That and Aaron Jones. But I think it was my last year of university there, and she had came down for a talk, and it was it was the middle of the Trump administration.
Oh
and
boy!
So, she's ranting about the border, and she's giving the same sort of intersectional shtick that open borders is black and brown liberation, and that we have to overcome hate with love, which really just means we have to kill Whitey, and it's pretty bad. And so, yeah, I mean, she's old. She's still alive. She's old as can be. And the thing that made me laugh is because there's that PBS show, Find Your Roots or whatever, that everyone's talked about, where she finds out where she finds out that her some of her ancestors are direct ancestries to the Mayflower, and that she's more white than she realizes.
Yeah, did the guy Henry Louis Gates, wasn't he part of the beer summit?
Pretty sure.
Oh, that's ancient history, bro. That's ancient Obama administration history. I remember watching Rick Sanchez when I came home from school, and it's talking about the beer summit. That was hilarious. I think Obama got some pretentious IPA or some foreign brew. I forget. But for those who don't know, Henry Louis Gates was the professor who was arrested. What happened? He was arrested.
He was arrested. Oh Lord. I'm trying to remember what actually happened.
But it wasn't the cop was racist. I think he matched the description of someone.
He matched the description of someone, and his front door was allegedly jammed, or as he claims. Taxi driver helped him get in, and a passerby called the cops. Yeah. And so it's one of these minor issues over race, and but he had a beer with Obama and Biden at the time,
and the guy that
and the officer too, which they accepted as sort of this weird national mea culpa in 2009. Oh my gosh,
man,
that is ancient history.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, Dick Gregory was hilarious, bourgeois beatnik, but is he still alive, Dick Gregory?
I don't know.
He's one of those like old guard socialists that it's like, yeah, he's got a few good things to say.
Right?
I think, was he a comedian?
The civil rights guy. No, he died in 2017.
Oh man, I thought Dick Gregory was still alive.
Died of heart failure in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, he was a mainstay though. He was around like the Democracy Now! Like tour circuit. So
I just find like her reaction to that was priceless, and some of the quote tweets, because Rufo had shared it.
Yeah,
and our side was just like, yeah, people forget to realize that, the people that were slave owners took really good care of these people.
She's like, I can't believe it. She's like, and Goose Gate's like, yes, your original ancestor was part of the Mayflower. And she's like, what? Like, that was like, she's like, oh my God. I mean, I hate wasps. But I can't believe it. Like, I built my career on hating wasps.
But remember, she bought the weapons for 17-year-old Black Panther advocates who kidnapped and murdered a judge. And she was charged with murder as an accessory, but was acquitted by an all-white jury. Her legal bills were paid for by white California businessmen and churches. Whiteness has been a pretty good grift for her.
Man, white. Yeah, it's kind of like Obama being mentored by Bill Ayers. And then, do you remember his argument against Rush Limbaugh? Obama said that, well, Bill Ayers committed those acts. I was like 9 years old at the time, but they were like, no. I remember that interview where Obama said like, oh no, Bill Ayers, I was only 9 years old at the time, so how could Bill Ayers radicalize me? I go, like that, like what? Like Bill Ayers, okay.
It's like that uncomfortable photo with him and the Nation of Islam folks.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Like, just because you were 9 years old when Bill Ayers bombed the Pentagon?
I think so.
Yeah. Like, just because you were 9 years old when he bombed the Pentagon doesn't mean that like those beliefs didn't transcribe onto you when you were being mentored by Bill Ayers after he got out of prison. Which by the way, all these like Black Panthers and like all these like new left radical like that actually did go out and commit these acts of fun posting. How did they get so like how did they become like mainstream academics after? Like, how did they not like spend their lifetime in prison? Like the guy who did the World
Clinton
Trade Center
did a lot of amnesty and clemency before he left the White House.
What?
Yeah, like Susan Rosenberg, part of the Weather Underground, got clemency from Bill Clinton and is now like a big part of a lot of Democratic activist groups. Like all that left-wing terrorism from the 1970s, a lot of that got cleared off or for political purposes had very lighter sentences. And then bam, so they're still in the forefront. These baby boomers are still at the forefront of most of your radical activism today.
Do you think that Bill Clinton, like side question, do you think Bill Clinton was a proto version of the Dark Lord? You know what I'm talking about, Tony Blair?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Although there's still a lot of American finagling into like Tony Blair's domestic policy.
Yeah.
For instance, like the Good Friday Accords happened a lot because of American pressure on Tony Blair's government. But I mean, Blair looked at Bill Clinton and was just like, we're going to modernize the English system. And I mean, that's the only reason why the UK has a Supreme Court now. But really? It's known. This is a known thing.
No, but what I mean is like Bill Clinton being like, in the front face of Bill Clinton being like, he's basically a moderate, like, what do they call it? Red dog? Is that what they call it?
Blue dog Democrats.
Blue dog Democrat. Sorry, blue dog Democrat. Like, no, not blue dog. What's the moderate Democrat? Is it blue dog?
Yeah.
No, but the Republicans are red. So how Oh man, I'm
Blue
confused.
Dog, yeah, the Blue Dog Coalition. I mean, this was more centrist sort of folks that they were
Yeah,
more conservative. This was trying to respond to the House takeover by Newt Gingrich. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
this is your Glenn
exactly.
Browders and Jonas Tanners of the world, a radically different Democratic Party.
That's what I mean. Like Clinton, he was from Arkansas, right? Like he was a good old boy. Like so, but the face of it was like the moderate, like blue dog, right? But behind the scenes, he let the radicalism slip. Same with Tony Blair. Tony Blair is like, as we know, the Dark Lord, as AA likes to talk about. He basically let the
I love how
radicalism
you
like
give him such a high pitched voice.
Oh yeah, I'm trying. I can't. I'm trying to perfect the AA accent. I can't. The Dark Lord, Tony Blair. I love how AA is like obsessed with Tony Blair. Because if you're British, then yeah, you must be like Tony Blair was like the beginning of the end. I feel like it was, it's true. But anyways, moving. You were gonna segment into something. How was that? So Angela Davis, she talked about
She's learning about that one drop rule in reverse.
Oh man! But what did she talk about? Did she talk about prison abolition, or it was more of like the Trump
At the lecture thing, it was
yeah,
mainly about borders and just how we live in an age where I think she had made a direct comparison to like a certain event that took place in 2017 akin to like anti-integrationist policies like
yeah.
pro-segregation, which I kind of can't help. Like, this is where that woke is more correct than the mainstream bit again, where it's like actually people do want to be left alone and separated, but and they
Wait,
know
what
this.
happened in 20? Oh, you mean
Yes,
Seville?
yes,
Wait, how is that Oh yeah, I get.
yeah.
You can
She
make
she
that
she
argument. I
compared that to
mean,
pro-segregationists
well, at
and
the time when Richard
anti-integration.
Spencer when Big Spence was talking about ethical, you know what? Then yeah, you could, from a left wing perspective, you could make that argument.
Biggie Spence with a double cup of lean.
Tripled like on his team, tripled up like no, but it is funny though. I feel like it would have been crazy looking at her like at the time you're in university when that event happened in 2017 and like Angela Davis is like comes to university. I had a pretty prominent I went to a lecture with a pretty prominent post-humanist author. What's her last name? I think her last name is Drake. And I went to a debate with that guy that kicked out Michael Millerman from University of Toronto, or tried to. And I remember talking to him after because my second reader was the debate organizer. So it was actually quite funny how like every single thing I mentioned, he was just like, yeah, that's fascism. Yeah, that's fascism. Yeah, that's fascism. I'm like, wow, that's pretty he was promoting his book where he says that if you read Nietzsche and Heidegger, you turn into a fascist. So that was pretty funny. But you were transitioning to wait, green glass full. I had to take a course from Judith Butler in the 90s. Man, I'd actually wouldn't mind that, but it would be yeah, that like in the 90s when Judith Butler was like cutting edge, right? That would be different than taking a course from Judith Butler now, so um final point before you move on. I was gonna say that and by the way, you're destroying it with super chats, man. Last week I kind of got I got schlonged on super chats, but no, I was gonna say that I think that the right wing though, I will I as a cautionary note, I will say that there is a version of right wing catch. Unfortunately, I feel like the sort of and we do make fun of it though. The difference is we do make fun of it, whereas the left wing will have to, they don't make fun of it; they embrace it. The right wing kitsch would kind of be like these masculinity grifters, or like these big
right wing kitsch is Jack Murphy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the beard grease. It's like these
the Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Black Rifle Coffee. It's like these big accounts that like post these courses on like, look at this trad aesthetic posting. Like but they always have like a chorus, you know what I mean? Like it's different. Like it's different than like when I feel like it's different than like when someone like Oris Press, like who is like an inventor of that stuff, because he's actually like putting a science fiction product out. Like he's like putting his money where his mouth is, and he's got like a different like whole like theory around it. Whereas a lot of these guys I'm talking where they'll like they have 100K following, and they have courses where you get to like read Machiavelli. Those are the types I'm talking about. Like where they like you know what my favorite type is, where they'll post, and me and Fen, we make fun of it all the time, where they'll post like, this person did this work of art in the Renaissance at 25 years old. What's your excuse? You know, that type of, I love that. It's crazy. What's your excuse?
I wasn't an apprentice since the age of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, that's so true, Fraser. It's vague posting.
Vague posting, yeah. That's right-wing kitsch. And so it's vague posting because it centers around like quote unquote right-wing values, but it has a lifestyle attached to it, right? Like, and some people have accused Rog nationalists of this, but I guess was that going to be your segue to the
to the sensitive
article?
old figureheads? Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Oh man, because so you mean the Deneen one, not the Rag one and compact?
Well, I mean both. Yeah. I mean,
I can't. I feel bad because
Roddick's been hit by like 4 or 5 different ones, and ironically, the first person I think that kind of got at him was Tink Zork and then Oliver Bateman.
Yeah.
And to where that's the thing that irks me is that everyone has thrown. We've kind of fallen into that Eric Vogelin trap where instead of he's got really 2 memes where you don't immanentize the eschaton and everything you don't like is Gnosticism.
Yeah.
And so that was the interesting take is that Rag Nationalist is a Gnostic. He doesn't hate the material world. In fact, he wants the material world to be better.
Yeah.
It's not like he's rejecting all these sorts of things, that this world is evil, but the material conditions that we certainly live in are. I mean, most food additives in the United States are banned in the EU for good reasons because
some are even
sick.
banned in Canada.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And so, and I mean, no, that's the thing about vague posting or like that bearded vet nationalism where it's just like, he did these things at 23 and it's just like, ooh, Julius Caesar wept at his lack of achievements in comparison to Alexander the Great by the age of 23. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. And he wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. And he wept for there were no more shits to post. There's an argument for decline that you could definitely make in quality of men, but
yeah. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. Yeah, is obviously there. But no, vague posting is sort of like I was reading this article. I posted about it on Telegram about like the military aesthetic being like this could be radicalized right wingers, but then you look at like the left wings, like the Antifa people, they're also caught in the like military like milsup aesthetic, but they're like camo patches say like protect trans kids or whatever. That's so it's a stupid argument, but it seems that there is like a salience to the vague post, like sort of the grift right is definitely real, and it definitely is kitchified because it does have the sort of like lumber soy, like Maheckin wholesome type of like
I'm gonna drink my Black Rifle Coffee Company,
my pound of bacon and beard grease.
And go watch another Garand Thumb video.
Yeah, yeah. There was a recent controversy. I know Aristophanes posted about this, where this gun YouTuber like got outed by these, John Brown Gun Club Antifa people that he was entertaining. What was that about?
So I think it has a lot more to do with Carl from In Range TV, who I know has quite a few interesting left-wing positions and probably supports that stuff. And I know that he had kind of, and because of that, I think it was Brunel's that had sort of stopped wanting to do business with them or stopped wanting to interact with them and do crossover things and things like that. To which they sell stuff with regards to guns. I actually don't watch a lot of them. I mean, my favorite gun people that I like watching really just boils down to Ian from Forgotten Weapons, who is his channel. I don't know what his personal politics are, but he is not very political on his like front-facing YouTube channel, which I appreciate. And Paul Harrell. Those are really the 2 guys that I watch pretty regularly. And so I find that That's really all I know that what's going on. I know that people have talked about it, but gun
Yeah,
ownership is not a good litmus test, as George Sagan accurately points out, because I know plenty of
that's what
lefties.
Aristophanes said. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of lefties. Oh, I like Hickok 45 too, Michael.
cock 45.
He's the grandfather I've always wanted.
Yeah,
And but yeah, it's just gun ownership's not a good litmus test, because what have we found out? That you can have a bunch of disgusting, dysgenic blobs show up with firearms in red states like Iowa and Idaho to defend Drag Queen Story Hour.
yeah, yeah. There, and that was, if you go to my Telegram, Giant Productions, I do post the picture where this one Antifa person had this like fat guy, where it's like a camo kit that says like protect trans rights or whatever, or no, protect trans kids. Yeah, but yeah, no, but anyways, yeah. So there is definitely like a kitschified aesthetic there, and I feel like there was a tweet. I feel like, who was it the other day? Was it Fisher King that said for some reason, like, everyone who basically votes Republican, even if they live in the cities, they've adopted like the redneck aesthetic in America, like the country. Like I feel like Trump has probably something to do with it. Like there's definitely like the county fair aesthetic.
Well, he had posted, I think it was a city. It was like a college football game or something, like, but it was like in a big city. But like the women there, I guess the conservatives, they were all sort of like dressed like cowgirls or something like that, or even like the Daisy Duke sort of deal. And yeah, I had saw that take where like they sort of adopt the redneck aesthetic and culture. And maybe that's the only place where there's any kind of semblance of culture left for conservatives in the cities.
A lot of Daily Wire films are like that as well. Like that's Daily Wire, like girl bot, like Huntress girl bot. Yeah, which we'll get to maybe next week. We'll get to. My culture is not your cust. Are you from the South, Donald Trump Gaming? I wonder. Well, I mean, Prude, that's your culture, right? I mean, you're from the South.
Well, I mean, Texas has definitely got its own unique spin on it, but yeah, I mean, the cowboy hats, the boots and everything. I mean, it even has its own political kitsch with god-awful Senator Ted Cruz, where he's like, well, I've got my arguing cowboy boots when I go to the Senate to make a speech, and I'm like, please stop talking. Like, for the love of God, please stop talking. I will vote for you again if you just shut up.
Yeah. Is Cruz actually Hispanic or no?
Cuban.
That's why he looks so European. He looks so white.
Yeah. Him and Marco Rubio. It's just
But Rubio does look like Hispanic. Like, he does look Hispanic.
He's got the ears for it.
Yeah, he's got the rent boy flair.
I secretly think he is, or was at some point in time.
Rubio, I just remember Trump in 2016, the debates, where he's like, "Little Rubio." Remember those? Like, remember the "Can't Trump the Stump" edits? Where he's like, "Rubio." Like,
that's where the whole hand sizes and genital bit came from. Was from his exchange with Marco Rubio.
Yeah,
little Marco,
yeah, like,
and that's God. And now we've got. I can't wait for the caste discourse to finally penetrate American politics. Now that there are two Indians running for president of the United States.
Oh man, that's gonna be so good.
I can't wait.
Oh man,
I actually like that too. Dude wipe patriotism. That's a good line. That's a great term for it. Have I been to rodeos? Actually, on my way to church, there's a rodeo stadium that I've been to. They also have auctions and gun shows there. So yes, I have. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. It brings you back to a culture that you can't really relate to. Yes, candidates are already running. You have Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and let me make sure I pronounce his name correctly, because I made fun of him yesterday with a great Norm post. I love Norm posting. I will never stop. Norm Macdonald's never truly gone. But it was, let me see here if I can find it. What's his name? Vivek Ramaswamy, who is the anti-woke Inc. guy, who is pro-open borders and on his timeline, despite announcing that he's running for the president of the United States as of yesterday. Still has tweets saying that George Soros has good ideas. And in his interview with guy, and in his interview with Tucker Carlson, he had said that more immigration is important. But yeah,
Do you
Vivek
remember
Ramaswamy has announced he's running for president, hoping to win the Republican nomination for the White House. When asked by reporters, former President Donald Trump said, "Didn't Elon fire that guy?" So that's where we're at.
Whoa!
Not Vivek from Morrowind, although I would vote for that Vivek before this
Not to
guy.
be confused with Vivek Riper.
Dagoth Ur should be the Republican nominee and drive the mongrel dogs of Mexico out of this place.
Like the Ben Shapiro, we will drive the Swarthoid hordes. You know what's funny though is, do you remember in 2012? I don't know what. Like, see, I remember more things about Canadian, like about American politics, even like Canadian politics. But do you remember in 2012 when like people thought Bobby Jindal was based?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's forever ago.
What's sad is that Bobby Jindal's not an idiot. Like,
no, he's not.
He's a really smart guy.
Right.
Well, I don't know how much we can libel up to credentialism, but I mean, like, semi-decent governor, Rhodes Scholar, was relatively articulate.
But to win in Louisiana too was pretty.
And to win in Louisiana as an Indian guy.
Yeah, like come on, bro. Like it's the Republicans. They were taking a huge risk with that, not running like another black candidate. Like it's or
they're gonna run that. They're gonna fall for that trap every time because by comparison to today's crop about quote unquote candidate quality, let's just take a look at Nikki
Haley.
Well, Nikki Haley is a great example. I was also thinking Warner, right? Not Warner.
Oh yeah.
What's the guy that ran in the Georgia Senate seat? Who was it against? It was against Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. And Herschel Walker, for all of his faults, I love this. I love this so much because this contemplates the future of Republican Party voting strategy till the end of time. And
remember
yes,
when I said the future is
left.
Yeah, remember when I said that the future of the Republican Party is Christian Walker?
Oh, it is. Eventually, Christian Walker will be like the face of some Republican candidacy. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. But the thing is that the future of the Republican Party's politics is going to be people like Herschel Walker running for office. And they're not going to focus on the people that voted for Republicans but didn't vote for him, because there are about 218,000 Republican voters that voted for Kemp for the re-election of the governor of Georgia.
Yeah.
But did not vote for him. And what makes it even funnier is that Herschel Walker's white wife thought it would be a really smart idea. Let's double down and try to get the black vote in Georgia against Raphael Warnock, which he did not break double digits in any district that he had won for the black vote. But instead, 218,000 more or less white voters said, nah, I'm good. And that's the future of the Republican Party. And this is the one thing that, well, there's quite a few.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Like, wow. That's crazy.
So I've said, well, I won't say it here, but yeah. So someone thought that that somehow that they were going to, and he was a terrible candidate, but that's how it is.
Plus, he was like insane. I mean,
yeah,
Herschel Walker, like.
But now we've got true insanity with the Federreich rising. It's so great.
Man.
Did they thought voices?
Yeah. Did they thought just because he was like an all-time football star that he was gonna like win the nomination? Is that what they thought?
I have no idea. And the same way, and this also is a sting against Trump because he did endorse Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
But I guess your take on Turkish people, I guess, will determine the state of affairs for that Senate race.
Oh my God!
He was the CTE candidate.
He was the CTE candidate. Whoa. I'm looking at Herschel Walker's. So he was married to Cindy DeAngelis Grossman. Julie Blanchard in 2020 said she was Walker's fiance. Walker married Blanchard in 2020. Child supports, sporadic gifts, corridor. Oh my God. There's like, they ran this guy. He beat his son, Christian Walker, for what? Oh, domestic. There's a whole Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Domestic violence allegations. Oh my God. They ran. The Republicans ran. Sorry, man. The red wave.
The red wave that wasn't. And I mean, this also has a lot to do with not financing any candidates that could have had a chance. And this is actually a critique I would lay into Blake Masters, because Blake's the internet's perfect candidate, but
yeah,
Blake
exactly. But he's not like the normie perfect candidate.
Yeah, Blake should have talked to normies. Blake, don't talk to us at IM1770. Like, go talk to voters. Yeah. God, please. But yeah, he was the worst candidate that ran in that time, and they could have ran a dead guy and probably have done better. But instead, both him and Dr. Oz lost to literal freaks and miscreants like frickin' John Ashcroft in 2004 lost to a dead guy. And now Georgia's probably forever going to stay blue.
Oh my God. There's more than one accusation of a certain medical person. What?
You're at, like, why is this a surprise to anybody? Famous black football stars probably paid hush money to, like,
dozens of
be
women.
Anti-consequence.
This is insane. And Republicans thought that this was good. The GOP thought this was. Who else did they have in Georgia they could have ran? They had another black guy.
Literally anybody. Literally anybody.
They could have found like a more competent, like, by POC candidate in Georgia for the Republican Party.
Talk.
But you can't talk.
You know, you got to have that Joe Biden. You know, he's a nice, upstanding, clean-cut black gentleman who can talk really well. You know, you need that. But also,
they could have found the conservative Obama in Georgia.
You could. I'm sure he exists.
Yeah. Come on, Georgia.
Somewhere out there is a black man in Georgia married to an MTF.
Couldn't they get couldn't they get the sheriff from Georgia with the cowboy hat, the black sheriff that goes on Fox News?
Didn't he run for office at some point in time?
I think so. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But
you could get him. You could like pump millions of dollars into him. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally take that guy, the police officer that wears the cowboy hat, that always goes on Fox News, that talks about, I do this as a, tough love to the black community, blah, blah, blah. Like, you could literally run that guy. And Herschel Wadley wouldn't have, there would be no optics problems in terms of okay, yes, I know the Republican Party is done for because they truly think they could court the black vote in America. They can't, okay? But for argument's sake, within the Republican, bubble, right? You could literally take that guy, but you had to run Herschel Walker. What? I'm truly, I'm looking back at the 2022, the by-election, right? What do they call it in America?
Midterm election.
Sorry, brain fart. I'm like, what?
By-term elections, well, with the candidate quality nowadays is.
Oh man. Anyways, you were gonna move. We should move on. Now people are talking about Lori Lightfoot for some reason.
Well, just because as the Jean Pierre lady, the Haitian lesbian who runs the cabinet, I guess. She had said the cabinet is a majority of people of color for the first time in history. The cabinet is majority female for the first time in history. A majority of White House senior staff is female, and a record 7 assistants to the president are some kind of big umbrella term.
We had a Haitian as a governor general in Canada.
My sympathies.
She was pretty good, though. She was under Harper. She was pretty good. She wasn't that bad. Compared to that astronaut, the fedora tipper astronaut they got. She was pretty good, actually.
We have a fedora tipping astronaut in the Senate.
You do? Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember.
In Arizona.
Back in the day, they made a big deal that he was the only open atheist candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donald Trump gaming. Do you think Trudeau is going to call an election? No, I don't think. I think that Trudeau has enough steam to ride it out to 2025. So I'd be shocked if there was an election this year or in 2024. I don't think, because historically in Canada, they try to avoid having an election the same year as America has an election. So, yeah.
Probably a smart call because you don't want to adopt the American electoral fever pitch that we have.
Yeah, exactly. Especially after Trump. I can't see that happening. I don't... I don't see a Republican getting it in 24, but I mean, maybe. I don't know. Trump. Okay, if you want to transition to another topic, the Trump thing in Palestine. No, not the Palestine, in Palestine, Ohio.
The Ohio Palestine.
The Ohio Palestine.
East Palestine, Ohio.
Although if Trump did go to Palestine, I'm not going to touch that one. But no, I think it was a good move. I think it was a shade of the old Trump, definitely. Like the McDonald's one, that was like, see, the thing with Trump is that you have to realize that Trump, like,
I know this menu better than you do. I've known it for years.
Yeah. I know what special, but he like had to ask to like do the small talk where he's like, so what specials do you have today? It's like, no, but I know the menu better than everyone. So it's like, classic Trump move. Like the best was when Trump was talking about his physicist uncle. He's like, yeah, he was pretty smart. I think I'm smarter than him, but he was pretty smart. And there was a whole Jinx video about Trump's physicist uncle that knew Nikola Tesla. See that one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think Jinx is back on Twitter now. Hopefully he gets his original account back. Yeah, it's Trump 80s catch. Yes, because when McDonald's was good, it was a symbol of the Golden Arches conquering the world in the 80s. But here's the thing. Trump, you have to realize, nowadays is basically a class traitor. You know this, right? Trump is everything. He has been embraced by like red state, county fair, kitsch Americana because he is
the Coriolanus that Curtis Garvin talks about.
Yeah, exactly. He might as well be a dark hobbit at this point. Because Trump, I say this in loving terms. I don't say this in negative terms. He is a class traitor because he knows the way that the upper class, the elites operate. But Trump kind of never was them. Trump was always, his people were like, people talk about how like Trump is like a rich guy, blah, blah, blah. Trump was never like, he was famous for being rich, but his market was like little, like flyover, quote unquote, flyover America. You know what I mean? He always was like appealing to like mass culture. So Trump, in a way, he is kind of like a rich elite, but he isn't. You know what I mean? Like he definitely was an outsider. He was never like of those people in a way. Like I remember there was this interview that do you remember that British show Hard Talk?
No.
Where, well, like Hard Talk was like in the 90s. It was sort of like confrontational media, right? Like they had that one with David Irving, and they had like where he's like trying to grill him, but he like tries to maintain his cool. Like they had basically they would bring on like these outside people like that are like not acceptable, and like you had like this like British guy trying. I think they still have Hard Talk. I think that's what it was called, but they had this one episode with Trump in the 90s where he was like rebuilding his empire, right? Yeah, was it Jeremy Paxman? Yeah. Thank you, Alex. I remember Trump, like the interview he did where Trump was talking about, he's like, I like to build things, right? Like I'm an artist. I like to build things. And I remember that. And I remember like these hit pieces where, of course, like they do the whole like Trump is a fascist because Trump is like the aestheticization of politics, blah, 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 right? But I'm thinking like, yeah, the old Trump was great because I do feel that he was trying to use politics to build things. The way that he's like, the way he was talking about, I like to build, I like to build buildings that will last, that are monumental. I like to have good people that like to build things. Like the whole interview, this Hard Talk interview was about like how Trump is like this great, like he embraces this like architectural view of the American landscape, right? That Trump like is a brand, but more than a brand, it's trying to like build something into the future, right? And of course, like the leftoids are like, yeah, that's fascism. Because like, Trump is trying to build through politics.
Yeah.
But I remember like looking at that, and I remember like thinking like all of 2016 did make sense in that moment, that Trump was trying to build something. But I feel like the Palestine thing was like that glimmer of old Trump. Now, is he going to get the nomination? Maybe. Will he get elected? Probably not. But I don't know. Like this really made me curb my black pill on Trump. Put it that way. I don't know about you, Prude, but
I looked at it and I just thought to myself that it made me want to forget the last like 6 years of
Yeah,
politics. It made me
100%.
want to it made me want to go back to 2015. It made me think that there was something going on. And I mean, it was the perfect political layup, and I think that even some of our detractors had like pointed that out, where it was just like, you know, the Secretary of Transportation has only just now visited after Trump went there.
Yeah.
And of course, that county, the city of East Palestine, the county that it resides in, went 83% Trump anyways in the last couple of elections.
Oh, they worshipped him. He was walking down the street.
Yeah, he was like, he
was a
literally
god to
looked
them.
like Caesar returned from Gaul
Yeah.
and was ready to overthrow
Yeah.
everything. And can't wait. You know, it would be nice. I think the opportunity passed on a certain day in January in 2021,
Oh
but
yeah.
I think that it was nice to see. It was great to see.
It was nostalgia.
Yeah, and that's the thing is how much of this is politicking, how much of this is nostalgia, but he's paying for it with his own money. You had the Goya beans, which I couldn't help but laugh at because Goya had supported him in his presidency. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you know, they're making their political foe spend his personal money on recovery efforts rather than, you know, the EPA and anything like that doing anything.
Yeah. You gotta get that Trump water. You gotta get that Trump water.
Trump water. Gotta have your two hands on the water bottle, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna take care of like the McDonald's thing truly was like, well, Trump, like, we're gonna take care of everyone and take care of the firefighters today. We're gonna take care, it's all gonna be on my bill. And it's like, oh, by the way, I know the menu off by heart because McDonald's is the American people. He really does know his constituents. Like he does, like those people, you know
He
what I
knows
mean?
them by
Like,
heart.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's so tragic. I feel like in the past few years, even the fact that he doesn't like he doesn't embrace what he was. He doesn't embrace what made him great. What made us all love him.
He's aged. Like,
Yeah,
it really showed
too.
in the last video that he posted where he was talking about Victoria Nuland, which I was like, oh, that's spicy that he's kind of like saying the obvious about what a god awful witch that she is and is a warmonger. But like the way that he sounded, I was like, oh yeah, it's old.
Yeah.
You know, he's old.
Yeah. Like, and JD Vance looked good looking next to him too, as well. Like next to him as well. Like I feel like the whole thing that happened in Palestine, I feel like from the perspective of JD Vance, it's like he really is sort of like he is against the federal government. Not like a national divorce thing, but there is a sentiment there that governors like JD Vance basically are against Leviathan at this point. Like Ohio will be abandoned because of their political choices. And there was already leftist journalists I saw saying like, well, I guess they deserve it for not maintaining their infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. Like, so these type of events, they do sort of like reveal the you know what I mean? Like they reveal the fault lines in America the way that I feel like Katrina in a way with Bush revealed like a lot of different like a lot of the things that happened in Katrina. Like it sort of was that like it wasn't just like the federal government's incapable of like helping people, but it was portrayed in the media as like George Bush doesn't care about these people, blah blah blah. So it's like, you know,
the infamous George Bush doesn't
care about black people. Yeah.
What an arc that's been,
man. Yeah, that's pretty crazy in hindsight when you like look at it. No, but I feel like these events that happen in America, the Burger Monarch makes better. There is like, well, first of all, these infrastructure disasters are going to happen more frequently. It's inevitable.
Well, I would recommend the Old Glory Club stream because on the East Palestine issue, because Clossington actually is a civil engineer and works on rail and roads, and
he
speak about yeah, he is, and in fact, he's probably going to be visiting East Palestine pretty soon. Whoa. And so we can go back to him and hear his take on that issue. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of issues that are there. Both, I mean, like our regulatory nature is pretty poor because a lot of this stuff, and I mean, like this might sound lefty as all hell, but I mean, we have to deal with the railroad companies more than we have to do with like actual Department of Transportation stuff and things like that. So I mean, it's just there's a lot of stuff there that we don't have in regards, and even like more policy-based right-wing wonks are like, well, there's actually some regulatory policies that we've sort of kowtowed to that were gone that had probably compounded this issue. But there's a comment in chat here by PCSS. Was George Bush based?
No.
No.
Yeah, come on, Prude. You were thinking about it, though. You were thinking about it.
It was funny because I had a conversation with Paul Fahrenheit the other day, and he was he does his usual shtick about, he's a rather performative character. I will say that. But he had said that, I'm nostalgic for George W. Bush, which is funny because he's like 7 or 8 years younger than myself.
Man.
And I was like, you don't remember that, but okay.
I remember George Bush.
He was great at dodging shoes, but I mean, I don't know if I would call him a rather based individual in any way, sort of bit. And
no, because I just remember that comment. I forget who said that, like, in a different life, like, Gio wishes he was a liberal and Prude wishes he was a neocon.
Well, I grew up as like a very neoconservative person.
Yeah.
Like my entire life story in terms of a political journey grows up from like George W. Bush talking points. Like that's the team I'm on. Parents voted for it. When you're an army brat, you're definitely going to support. Yeah, you're either with us or you're against us. Like you have very much interesting views on, say, Islam or whatever. As a kid, you're like, oh, the enemy, right? And even to this day, the enemy, but for theological reasons. And now it's like, and especially in high school under the Obama administration, where it was like you had Glenn Greenwald, you had Snowden, you had WikiLeaks, you had Assange, and you realize that there was no difference between these two. That they're both warmongering, that they're both power-hungry individuals that will use even the most intimate details about you as blackmail, so that even if you want to speak out, you will have to be forced to hide in an embassy somewhere in order to not be extradited and taken away and punished. And so what killed me was that all of a sudden you had to reassess your entire socialization as a child and as a young, as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And that's why even to this day, I'm like, I don't like George W. Bush at all for his policies. I don't like who he is as a politician. He is as slimy as the rest of them. Yet I have a nostalgic feeling for him because I can remember clear as day, I hear you, the whole world hears you. And pretty soon the people who did knock down these buildings are going to hear from you. So like, yeah,
that was an iconic moment though.
Yeah, you can't change that.
That's a world historical moment when he said that. You can't take that away from him.
No, you can't.
As much as he's a piece of shit nowadays, like, when he said that the world hears you and soon, that was like, I remember when he said that. That was like, even when I was a kid on the news hearing that was big. Like, like apparently, what was like, it was like that baseball game after 9/11 or like SmackDown after 9/11, like when they had the anthem, or like the first NBA game. I think it was in New York. It was
in New York, and
what's the big stadium called? Is it
I don't know off the top of my head. But
the big one, like and they had Lee Greenwood singing "God Bless the USA," like that was like that. You know what I mean? Like that.
Sure, but now. I mean, and it's kitschy now. But like, if you were even when he like left office and he wrote that sort of like memoir decision points about his presidency, in Yankee Stadium, and they're like, none of these people in the stands voted for you, but they're all cheering for you now. Exactly. Like that's like it's a feel good moment to a point
that
where
will
it's
never
turned
happen
into
in America ever again. Never, I feel.
We'll see, pending. If a cloud of radioactive smoke drops off of Washington D.C., maybe we'll have that moment again.
No, because you'd still have like but you would still have like our guys that would say that, you know what, great Satan, you deserve it. Like I feel like that uniting moment would never, you know what I mean? Like
probably,
yeah.
But that's the thing is that like even today the Republican Party that wants to go back to Fresh Prince, as AA likes to describe it, they invoke like that post-terror attack unity. Is like we would love to go back to that. And so it's
definitely
like,
no, because none of those people in New York, they didn't vote for George Bush. They hated Bush, but like, well, they didn't hate them to the same degree they hated him in 2003, but they nevertheless, they saw Bush robbing them of their like heckin' wholesome Bill Clinton progressive future, which, as we know, Bill Clinton was like very mixed bag in the sense of like he didn't have like he like let progressivism slip through the back door, as we said, but he also had like the super predator bill and like so and he did have like the first shade of the original like neoconism. But when that moment happened, when those people, yeah, they didn't vote for Bush, but yet at that moment they were united as like, we are Americans. Like that was so big. Like even as a kid, I remember that was
and
very
again,
big.
that's in part because there was still a relatively cohesive civic religion that you could assimilate into.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
And that's all gone. That's all gone.
Yeah.
America was not nearly as diverse as it was in 2001.
No.
And America was not nearly as polarized as it was in 2001. You won't get that anymore. There is no sense of Americanicity. Like that civic religion has been uprooted, destroyed. It's gone. So
yeah,
you won't get that because
no,
all of a sudden, if a great tragedy happens,
like a nuke, like,
heaven forbid, and we should
yeah.
pray to God that never happens. But if some sort of tragic event like September 11th, 2001 were to happen, every which way but loose, you would see pundits, commentaries, grifters, all saying, well, my people weren't mostly affected, so
you'd see
I don't
Vaush
care.
gloating about it if it was in Middle
Yeah.
America.
Yeah, if it was in Middle America, and I'm sure Vaush has gloated about East Palestine too.
Oh yeah,
Like the
definitely.
disgusting fat cretin that he is. These people would just have no problem laughing about it. And if it was in a major place like San Francisco Bay,
Or
gets
New
hit
York.
by something, or New York, all of a sudden, I'm guarantee you that someone like on our side would probably be like, suck it, like
all the libs getting insane. You'd have like Giga Chad green text about it.
there would
like,
there would be like Giga Chat edits of whoever committed the violent act that day.
Yeah. Is Geo? Yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, I think I'm fatter than Vaush. I'm trying. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to get to the Vaush level, but I don't know.
You should get to 25-year-old Vaush level where that man looked like a young Ian McGregor, and now he's just like, what's happened?
Yeah, but I think spiritually, Vaush is, fatter than me, so it's hard to say. No, I'm kidding. No, spiritually, depends. But anyways, let's move on.
Last but not least, what do you want to go for, Gio?
There's a bunch of stuff. Did you want to talk Deneen? I think that was the.
Actually, no, let's not. I know that only because I'm recording an interview with him on Saturday.
What?
Yeah.
Patrick Deneen?
No, Lomez. You think I'd ever get a chance to talk to Patrick Deneen? Come the hell on.
I was gonna be like,
I don't use
what?
my real name. I don't ever, I'm not associated with any major institutions. I'm not a Roman Catholic. You would just call me a demon.
Yeah, true. I'm
interviewing Lomez on Saturday. That's my big news.
Yeah, I had a brain fart for a moment. But no, what was the last bit of let's see, I have my notes here. Because I had notes on the whole like national divorce thing, but I guess if you're talking about
no, we can do that. That's perfectly fine.
No, I thought we were gonna cover the well, we'll do another art stream one day. So we keep teasing it, but it's
we are reviewing Daily Wire films.
Yeah. No, but I mean like we were gonna do paintings, but
we need to.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll do.
We need to get a guest on for paintings because I would be desperately outside of my.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you about the icon thing, but.
Well, yeah. I've got some photos. I can share that on screen. Because last week,
Jason, no, we're not gonna talk about old head drama. No, we're not gonna touch that drama. No, the 10-foot pole.
Not with a 10-foot pole.
Oh,
sorry.
God, sorry. It wouldn't even effective. Yeah, it's too much. Listen. It's too much of a hot wire, and yeah.
Yeah. So no, I can show you off what I put it on my Substack because I put a rather personal take because like last week was just a really spiritual warfare is real and it is the attacks on the enemy are real. But anyways, this is the last, most updated photo. I haven't gone back to touch up on it. I've just been busy this week with the channel and getting myself into an exercise routine, and I had a doctor's appointment. But this is what I've been working on this last week. It started as a plain old whiteboard, and then let me see if I can make the screen a little bigger for you guys. But yeah, so this is what I've worked on over the course of the last week. But yeah,
Nice.
that's what I spent last week doing. We're not finished yet. We're about 80% of the way done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. Yes, I am using egg tempera for this. Everything has been done now. Although we did not etch the lines. Instead, because it was funny, because our friend Martin posted those Pigma
microns.
Those Pigma microns. That's what we used to trace the lines for this.
Because they're archival.
Yeah, they're fantastic. But yeah, this is what I was working on last week. Hopefully we'll finish it this month.
Well, traditionally used a dip pen. And
well, traditionally you etch the lines into the board.
Oh yeah, that's right. Would they? Yeah. How'd they do it? Just with a razor? Would they use engraving tools?
Oh, we used engraving tools the last time we did one. But this is the prosopon school in Russia. This is the format that we use. So they always naturally come out very dark, which I actually don't like. The Greeks and other Russian schools actually make them far more flesh-like.
Yeah.
But because they use a lot of the Roskrish, the first light, which is usually, it's always this like dark, gritty green color. Yeah. As the first layer of light that you put on.
Andrei Rublev used that, yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's sort of the traditional way that you do it for all Roskrish, really. And so that is their darkest tone. So you always start from the dark, and then you bring yourself lighter and lighter and lighter. So, which is why, like the previous icon I did of St. John Cassian, he came out like way darker than I wanted him to, but that's just the prosopon method, because, you know, he was not that dark, St. John Cassian. He was a Scythian and went westward. He was not particularly.
I didn't know they engraved the lines like so. You were using like V and U gouges then, or just like your standard writing V.
Yeah, basically, and you etch the lines that way, but you have to be very careful.
Yeah, of course.
Because otherwise you can scratch the board too much, and that can cause issues. Because once you do the lines, you can't really fix that.
Welcome to my world with woodcuts. Yeah. You only go down like so many inches though, like because that's like the difference being is like woodcuts are like, you know, the side grain of wood, and wood engraving is the end grain where you use like the little jeweler's tools, which they call burins. I do both, right? But yeah, I didn't know they incise the lines, because then you like drive ink into them, right? And then you go from there.
Well, you drive line. Well, I mean, you ink over the lines with pigment. Actually, towards the end. So you do other steps is that you will redraw your lines, either to finalize some etching or to redraw them 2 or 3 times. This one, because we had used those Pigma microns to trace the lines, we really managed to skip that step and things like that. So those things definitely help with that regard. But
then you gold leaf over them.
Well, you gold leaf over the halo very early on. You'll do that with a clay red bowl. So you can use that with like hide paint and any sort of cremer, bowlless sort of stuff that you can use. When I finish this, I'll probably have it to show off on stream. I will hopefully have an iconographer, our friend Shane Swenson, on to talk about that. But yeah, those are the things that I usually do.
But it's very like formulaic though. Like you're basically following a template more or less.
Yeah, I mean there are some templates, of course, that are newer. For instance, there's a Russian Orthodox icon of the Angel of Blessed Silence, which actually depicts sort of a pre-incarnate Christ as a child, and that's a relatively new one. I mean, you can make a new pattern in iconography. You just have to be able to theologically and canonically defend it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like there are different styles though with icons, but it's not like a stylization. It's not like an art form per se.
No. And I mean that's a pattern of the three-handed Virgin anyway, which is a very famous iconographic image from St. John of Damascus.
because that's what I mean. Like fine art, like the thing is with fine art is that with painting, like every painting is more or less trying to solve problems that you come up with, and eventually you develop a style, blah blah blah. But like iconography is different in that it's not like how should I? It's like Jonathan Peugeot, me and him were talking about this once. It's not like it's not artwork in the sense of like an aesthetic object. It's like what I was talking about before. It's not an aesthetic object. It's very much integrated within orthodoxy. It is the conduit of orthodox practice. It's not like, I mean, is it an artistic practice? Yes. Is it a work of art? Yes. But it's not like an art object. It doesn't have a same purpose.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're used for the purposes of veneration, and like I said in that Substack, I'm not going to get into the apologetics of it, but I mean, you pray before you even begin work on them, and it's just in the line in that prayer is that and have mercy on those who will stand before these icons and how they give homage to those they represent. But yeah, and I mean, there's and all the steps that you do, for instance, in that school are particularly they all reflect creation and salvation theology. So each steps are going to be about man's hubris, being humbled, salvation and repentance, and things like that. And like, we don't talk about politics purely on the show. Like, I noticed that there were some in the comments that are getting upset that this is shop talk. But like, have you not seen any episode of the show where we talk about literally?
Listen, Alex, do you want to talk politics? Listen, head over. Wait, is Oren still going on with more?
No, Oren is finally finished, and apparently they spent the first 15 minutes talking about Ron DeSantis, and a certain forceful snuggle with a struggle analogy was used to talk about Ron DeSantis.
What? I gotta go watch.
Yeah, so you'll have fun watching that because apparently that's what happened in the first 15 minutes.
Oh my god! Did you see that? That Classic Theist was on. I have to watch it. I thought it was today. It was.
Oh, you told me that the other day. That Classic Theist and
with Uber Boyo
was going to be on Follow the Rules.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
Lord.
I heard it was all right because like it was mostly Classic Theist and Uber Boyo, which is good.
Oh, good.
I can't. Yeah.
I can only imagine the constant flow of interruptions.
Yeah. You know, in Catholicism, we do have illumination texts as well, right?
Yeah.
But the practice is again pretty open-ended because a lot of Catholic art like ceded its legacy to the art world as well, like at the time, like through patronage. So, but there were in-house monks that did do illumination, but the style was much more open-ended. A lot of it, like there, even in certain parts of like certain quatrains of the Catholic world, they came up very close to, like, for example, Iranian miniatures. Like a lot of Byzantine art was taken from there, and then by the time you get to like Germany and Ireland and Italy, all of them had different styles. So very different than Orthodox iconography. Although I would say that iconography does have different regional.
Oh yeah, I mean
a
Greek-styled icon is vastly different than a Russian or a Byzantine one, just because the Greeks still maintain a lot of their Hellenist sort of art styles.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm reading a book on Saint Savas the New, who was a 19th century Greek saint. I mean, a lot of his icons that are in the book that I'm reading are very much could be Greek-style paintings from antiquity. Very interesting. But no, Khalifa, it's different. There are two different characters with Ubers in their name. You have Uber Soy and Uber Boyo. One is a Nietzschean. The other, I don't know.
But you got to see. But okay, yeah. So, well, let's not talk about.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I'm just saying that there's two different characters, and I get them confused sometimes.
No, but this is deep. This is deep. Follow the rules lore, because one time we had on Uber Boyo, and Keith Woods was stream sniping in the chat, and he called him Uber Soyo. So Khalifa remembers that time when Keith Woods was in the chat and he called him Uber Soyo. Oh, that was so good.
Oh, delightful.
I mean, I love Uber Boyo. He's a friend of mine, but that was pretty. What did Uber Soyo say about Daughter of Albion? What?
I don't know the full bit of that. I don't want to get
Oh,
into
no,
the
no,
drama.
no, no, okay, see, Khalifa's confusing. I thought the Khalifa was referring to no, but there was something that happened between Ubersoy and yeah, I'm not getting into it. But no, but in terms of Uber Boyle, that is DPTR lore, where Keith Woods was stream sniping and he called him Uber Soyo. That was pretty funny. Yeah, but two
Those
different
were the
people.
days.
Those are the days, man. What did Alex say about have you noticed a major shift among millennials regarding immigration here in Canada? Is there a major shift? I know that there's some Canadians who are starting to be skeptical about immigration, but apparently Chris Sky is running for mayor. I don't know if he's serious or not, but apparently Chris Sky is running for mayor of Toronto now that John Tory like had to resign because he was banging a 30-year-old intern. Man, that's crazy. If I was in Toronto, I'd vote for Chris Sky. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of cringe, but like he's like, I mean, come on. You can't like listen. For a Canadian, you take what you can get in terms of based figures. But the whole like Chris Guy, like listen, is Chris Guy cringe because of polyamory? Yes. But is he pretty based? Kind of based, kind of based. He's kind of I don't know, like Chris. Listen, he's a fellow Paisan, so I can't counter signal Chris Guy too much. Can't sex scandal incel exactly. But Alex, are you gonna vote for Chris Sky? I don't know. Like,
Can
I'm
you
not in
make fun
Toronto.
of Hanania? Oof.
Oh yeah, we will. But
We can do that.
no, but it's funny because the stream did reference the Janine thing about Lomez, but I guess like you wanted to kayfabe that for because I was like my point was like I was going to say like the whole national divorce thing really is like kind of like a spiritual defeatism when it comes to like the Republican like conservatives in America, they do know that like their time has come, you know what I mean? But when you think of it like conservatism really is like a sort of like a creature of the civilization's winter, you know what I mean?
Mm.
The reactionary, the right winger, I mean, you could argue that when it comes to the creation of a civilization, there is sort of like a force of tradition that is living that creates the bedrock of that society. But tradition, I mean, again, this is like very old, like NRX talking point, but tradition does not equate conservatism. Conservatism in this case really much is like the creature of the civilizational winter in like the Spinglerian stuff. I don't know, did Spengler talked about conservatism, right? Like if I recall. Like I mean, again, it's a shame that I haven't read as much Spengler as I should, but
It's mentioned briefly in Form and Actuality,
yeah.
and it will sort of try and preserve the latterness of the culture that had led itself to its winter. But I mean, I what I find particularly depressing, like this all kickstarted because this has been discussed before in sort of like right-wing Twitter. It got kicked off again because Marjorie Taylor Greene said,
Yeah.
let's have it out. And, this goes back to Nick Land's point about the Cracker Factory in his essays on the Dark Enlightenment, that like the oldest Anglo tradition in the book has always been exit. This is literally how you got America founded, by a bunch of Anabaptist, Presbyterian, and Puritan radicals. And that plays a big role in the foundation of the country. Because I mean, and even Spandrel is like all about this like Anglo exit theory. And it's pretty ridiculous to a point where we have sitting politicians talking about it. And we fundamentally have lost the ability for exit in both 1965, but also in 1865.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You can either have, I mean, and the side that wants to be left alone will always lose to the side that wants to kill you. And the left was kind of pretty adamant about which position that they want. Also, a sort of a divorce, like, in theory, I'm all for like a hyper federalist where like the state governments have way more power than the federal government does outside of the military. I'm all for that. But I also know you don't get there by being powerless or hopeless.
Yeah.
So unless, and this all goes back to the same issue, like unless you have real political power, both hard power, the ability to enforce the monopoly of violence, which even in this country, we do not have the monopoly on violence as the state. And then secondly, if you don't have the political institutions to like capture the national will and to force your enemies into cultural submission, either homogenizing them into being, say, rednecks or making them less gay, then we're not going to get anywhere.
Mm.
So to me, it's both. It's a white man's ghost dance in a lot of ways. Like, if only we could just be left alone. And the second one being is that it just seems to be this powerlessness. Like, they want to leave their abusive spouse, but
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting, "I want a national divorce," is like a woman saying, "I'm going to leave you," after her face has just been beaten in by a doorknob because her husband grabbed her by the hair and forced her against the door.
And then
Like, it's
she
not going
goes.
to happen.
Then she goes to the Emerge, and she said she fell down the stairs.
Yeah. So when people
Yeah.
ask her what happens, what do they say? Fell down some stairs. Oh, I just tripped and fell. I was being clumsy. I fell off the bed.
Yeah. What did it was the line from The Sopranos, Richie Aprile. He's like, she's gonna join the slip and fall club. Like that. That's terrible. That's brutal. But yeah, no, yeah. So there was also another point. I believe it was from an Amarnite, of course, saying in way colorful language we can't say on YouTube, that said, like, do you really want like sections of America communized and like beholden to the BIPOC LGBT communism? Like, do you really want that? Like, Marjorie, I just fell down the stairs. Oh, that's terrible.
It's true, though.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, but no, I don't want to make fun of domestic violence. You know what I mean?
No, of
It's
course
just,
not.
yeah, but you know what? You know
But
what?
that's the analogy that I feel is
Yeah,
best applicable in
it
this
is.
instance.
I remember one time. I shouldn't say this because it's like lost. I think it's still on Lev's channel, but it was it was Mass Bastard, where if he said something like things you wouldn't make fun of, right, on your podcast, and we said, like, of course, like you know, assault victims of a certain sexual variety,
Mm-hmm.
and he just like blurts out, you know, one of those things, like, you know, it shouldn't be funny, but in the context it was funny. He goes, yeah, why would you make fun of them, they've been fucked anyways. Oh my God. And like Lev's face just like went beet red, and it's like, it was so hilarious. Like, yeah, why would I make fun of them? They'd be fucked anyway. They've already been fucked. I'm like, whoa. Like, I couldn't, like, even now, like, thinking of like retelling it, it was like, it's like we couldn't stop laughing. Oh man, that was hilarious. But no, but yeah, we're not making fun of like domestic violence, but we're just saying that it is an apt analogy, obviously. But the national diverse thing, like, it is okay. Your point about that it is sort of part and parcel of the Anglo spirit, which it is, but at the same time, you know, it is true. Would you want like whole dead zones in America that like eventually like a Caesar type figure, which I know is like the fantasy of the right wing, which would probably never happen unless things get really bad. Like, would you really want like parts of it, like, but then at the same time, I mean, parts of America kind of, you know,
I'm not bullish on a Caesar figure coming anytime soon. Like, do I think that somehow, somewhere in the middle of America, that there's going to be some grass-fed, beef-fed guy that's going to turn into the Caesar with the soul of Christ that will reconquer America and make it what it's supposed to be? I don't.
Probably not.
Would it be nice? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But most likely, as this country, I think... Well, that's the debate Astral and I had when we talked about the second volume 2 of Spangler, was just that, was there, what kind of Caesar will come? Is it blue, purple, red? I mean, we're already in a second religiosity. There is a very heretical wearing of the skin suit form of Christianity that is happening right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that in that regard, that who knows what Caesar may be. Maybe it's blue. Maybe we've already had it. Maybe it was FDR. Lord only knows.
Oh, maybe Obama.
Maybe.
No.
But I think no one has ever had the same level of presidential and executive authority solely vested in.
Oh, than FDR? No.
Than FDR. Yeah. We've never had a more authoritarian president, maybe close to Abraham Lincoln.
Maybe.
Those two.
Yeah, probably Lincoln, but no, FDR definitely is like, yeah. I mean,
But yeah,
I think
there's nothing wrong
Obama
with a
was,
little bit of gallows humor. Not me, not you. I agree.
of course. No, but I think Obama wanted to be FDR. It's just that I
He wanted
I
to be the
don't know.
Black Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, yeah. But but when it comes to the national divorce, but then again, like I'm on the fence because there are parts of America that pretty much are lost to like the libs that are never coming back. Um, but at the same time, I mean, would you want to empower a separate system? I mean, the whole discourse is stupid because like the basic point is true. It's like they're not going to leave you alone. That's like a fantasy, and I mean, the whole like cope about, well, the conservatives have the more guns and we have all the farmland. It's like, no, they'll just like use their they'll use their ill-gotten usury finance system that they've built in the coastal cities to just import their own resources. And in terms of like to consume, like, okay, in terms of like the grunt level, like frontline infantry in the military, yeah, they probably do vote Republican more. But there are a lot of like, just go to mill Twitter, okay? Go to mill. You want a black pill? Go to military Twitter. There are a lot of libs who have been in the military. It's shocking. It's like, I mean, Prude, you probably know more than anybody. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just reading out. Yeah, I have criticisms of people, and I don't think that anyone will say I'm stealing their ideas. I blatantly will attribute them to Yarvin, God's dominatrix. Although, in terms of executive authority, yeah. And if you want to talk about Nixon, then yeah, we can't talk about Nixon without talking about Daniel Patrick Moynihan in the same way that I can't avoid talking about Colonel House when talking about Woodrow Wilson. There are still a lot of things that I find cringe about Yarvin, and he's not wrong 100% of the time. The thing that I want to have important in this discussion, the same way that the distributist just talked about it, is that the authenticity for discussion, I think, exists here. Like, if you want criticisms of people, I hope that you find them here on the right. If I'm wrong about something, I better hope that the best goddamn criticisms of me and my ideas come from someone like a colleague or in my comment section or someone on the right. I don't like that, just tends to be the case in point. But also, it's not even very Yarvin. It's also very old right paleoconservatism that exists long before Yarvin.
Really?
This is why every bloody time I tell people, please, for the love of God, read the People's Pottage. You will see the absolute deprecation of the American political system from its democracy promises that FDR ran on and went back against them. Like that. It goes much older than Curtis, and this is why one of the best things that Yarvin's got is the literature that he recommends. I think that seems to be very much on the point.
People's Pottage by
Garrett
Mises
Garrett.
Institute?
Yeah, you can find it on the Mises Institute, but it was written by Peter Edwin Garrett, also known as Garrett Garrett, author, novelist, writer of the and editor of the Saturday Evening Post.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah.
That was the one that Norman Rockwell illustrated.
Plenty. There was also quite a few sort of what constitutes like the old right would be this like mishmash of overlap. It wasn't purely ideological, but it was very much a reaction to FDR's executive authority.
Man, I should read People's Pottage.
Yeah, I need to. I have like a script that I've never recorded about Garrett Garrett that I need to get out. Maybe I'll put it on Substack.
Yeah, man. Don't you shouldn't have gotten so hot though. Like God's dominatrix is always like that. So
well, I'm gonna get hot regardless if I find it necessary.
Listen, I love God's dominatrix, but he's kind of a little bit of a troll. No, but no, I just saw you were getting a little steamy there. But no, I mean, yeah, the whole Blue Caesar thing, it does go beyond Yarvin. But also, like, when I think of it, I think more of the semi-recent Scott Greer article. He wrote one about the Blue Caesar.
I have not read it.
Yeah.
Is everything of his behind a paywall?
I don't think so.
Okay, then maybe I'll read it. I do know his podcast is, or some portions, which is why I don't pay.
He eventually releases it on his YouTube channel.
Oh, well, good, because I don't pay for Scott Greer's content.
Yeah.
There are very few people that I shell out my money to. Skeptical Waves being one of them, but yeah, I don't pay for Scott Greer.
Oh man. Yeah. No, but yeah, the national divorce thing, I think people are beating it to death though. That's the
Well,
only thing.
it's such a cyclical thing in our politics. Like, I mean, and it didn't used to have the title of national divorce. It used to just be straight up separatism or secession. The
Yeah, you
same
got to
thing
learn from
happened.
us Canadians, us Leafs. We have separatism. you know?
Well, I
We
mean,
have a
we just
long
we
history of
just
that.
use the language of the Civil War. Like, we talk about, Texas seceding or the Greater Idaho Project. Like, we just used to use the words secession. I don't know why this national divorce thing means. Like, I don't know why that language has come up, because divorce also implies that there's going to be some like mediated split, when usually that's never the case. And it also, if anyone's ever been a part of a divorce or has ever seen divorce up close or works in family law, you
Mm.
know that it's going to be filled with a bunch of like backstabbing, hiding of money, burning of books and resources that they can't use
Lying,
against you,
indoctrinating your kids. Yeah.
lying, alienating your kids from the other parent. And then the other issue that I always take with like national divorces is like, well, you're now telling the rest of the world, which relies on sort of its reserve currency, its military, where does that go from there, right? Geopolitically speaking,
Yeah.
you're asking for open invitation in the same way that the rest of the world was more or less invited into the post-Soviet Union to ensure that nuclear weapons didn't get into the wrong hands. And I don't think anyone's comfortable with the idea of a foreign occupation or foreign visitation into, say, Montana or whatever,
Mm.
where all the nukes are. Like, that's another thing. Like, it it's always been I think a issue of spiritual sort of resignation.
Yeah.
So
But
I mean, that's
yeah.
my view.
Oh, 100%. But I feel like like it's an admission that the right wing in America doesn't control the destiny of America itself. That's, I feel like it would only just like double down on that basic insight that is, blackpilling. Like, it's hard to say. As things get bad, though, I do feel that there will be some kind of like passive national divorce, in the sense of like there will be certain like red states that will realize that like maybe it'd be best if we ignore the federal government strategically. Like I think JD Vance, like I said in Ohio, like there will be whole states that'll, I mean, Ron DeSantis in Florida, uh, Meatball, that trend will continue, I feel, and there will be like not a national divorce, but there'll be, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a stupid term to call
Passive
it.
aggressive ignoring.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
The
don't.
Bundy Ranch option.
Which again, I think you'll need to require some significant hard power to deter any sort of
Oh,
encroachment.
definitely.
Which is why I think the one thing that people were getting interested in was that like Ron DeSantis wanted to increase like Florida's like state guard, not the
Not the National Guard.
not the National Guard, but like the state guard, and increase its budget, which would include aircraft and things like that, which is like the first time we've ever seen that. So I don't know if like Ron is like secretly setting up some kind of nullification crisis to play out again. Who knows? It's but
Florida super soldiers.
Florida, yeah, cocaine bear, but it's a Florida super soldier, making sure that kids aren't being taught how to mutilate themselves at age 6.
Making sure kids don't read Angela Davis.
That's for even better. Judge Dredd, but making sure 6-year-olds don't read Angela Davis.
Oh my god!
And they're wearing pit vipers and got like the Don Johnson look from Miami Vice.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Yeah. I
Coke
can't believe
riddled
they
salt water.
I can't believe they made a film on the. I remember watching a Mr. Ballin video about the cocaine bear, but they made a film about it. That's hilarious.
I think it's going to turn into I think it'll turn into one of those schlocky cult classic movies that gets a Blu-ray remaster 20 years from now.
Yeah. Like, we'll be a good example of that. Like Cujo.
Was Cujo that bad? Was it panned that badly when it came out?
I think so.
Okay.
Because it was just a stupid premise.
Like bad it was dog.
No, but if they had a Pipple, it would be.
I was about to say,
yeah,
Cujo,
way more believable.
Cujo 2023. It's a pit bull, and it's here for your children.
Yeah, it'll be like Zoe Saldana and like some other No,
It'll,
she
no,
never
no, no.
stood the joke.
It'll be like a bunch of white women.
Oh, it will. Oh, yeah. So it'll be like,
What do you? There's nothing wrong with my pit baby.
who's that one that's banging Eric Andre? Why is she popular now? The Redikowski woman.
Eric Andre is with a white woman.
Yeah, that Radachowski. I forget how to pronounce her name. They
Oh,
had like, a
Emily
nude photo.
Ratajkowski or whatever.
What is she? Is she an actress or a model?
She was an actress, wasn't she? The chick from the American version of Shameless.
Oh, that's why I don't know about her.
Yeah.
Man.
Sharknado vibes. Yeah, except way more budget.
Yeah. Sharknado was based. Like it was. I remember they had I was watching Z Nation at the time, and they had the woman from Z Nation that in Sharknado 3. That was pretty cool.
And Coulter's in Sharknado 2. Never forget that.
Yeah, never forget.
Everyone and their mother wanted to be in Sharknado 2.
Oh man.
Eric, yeah.
Didn't Coulter get eaten by a shark?
Yeah, I think so. I've only seen the first one. I had been brutally informed that there is like 7 or 8 of these. Oh yeah, as the vice president, she was the vice president. Ann Coulter.
Yeah, I do like Mr. Balling. He's pretty good. It's pretty like I like bedtime stories. See, my old man listens to all that, like all those creepy podcasts. Like he literally just has an iPad just to listen to like those type of podcasts. Like there's that one where it's like this black woman from the South. She's great. I love her. Like she does the ghost stories. I forget what the podcast is called, but she's got that like soulful black woman voice. I love it. It's like, what are you gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about this ghost story today. It's like, oh man, I love that one. Anthony Weiner was in Sharknado.
I think he was in Sharknado 2.
That's crazy.
Even Jared Fogle was.
Jared Fogle was. Oh no.
Yeah, and Matt Lauer.
Matt Lauer was. Oh, that's blast from the past, man.
Do
you remember when he was like scared
2014? What a time to be alive.
Yeah, that was great. I remember that one. Apparently, Ann Coulter's getting married again. Yeah, no one's getting.
She is slowly turning into the Larry King.
Fishy friends.
Just marrying everybody.
Oh, Ann Coulter. Yeah, she's gonna be like.
What is she doing? Other than telling people to go back to their country.
Yeah, Ann Coulter is like, what's your opinion on Ann Coulter?
Other than, I mean, she's just always been focused about immigration. I mean, she criticized Trump for a lot of the issues of not being hard enough on the border. So I don't know. Like, I don't have anything too bad to say about her, other than
she makes the libs mad.
She pisses off the right people.
Yeah.
I haven't read a lot of her work.
Me neither.
To be perfect, I've read some of her columns and I've seen some of her television appearances, and I don't have a problem with her at all. I'm sure that someone's going to tell me that why I shouldn't support her or like her, but
she's good. Like she makes those like mass market paperback like conserva books that you find at Walmart. Like you find the box.
Let's take a look at her
book box sales.
Ann Coulter books. Let's just see what she's got. All right, Adios America in 2015. How to Talk to a Liberal If You Must. Resistance is Futile.
Oh,
in 2018. God. In Trump We Trust in 2016.
Yeah, so
Mugged, Racial Demagoguery from the 70s to Obama. I bet you that book's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Demonic, How the Liberal Mob is Endangering America. That's in 2011.
You gotta go to the older ones.
Godless, The Church of Liberalism.
That one. Was that during the Obama years?
Nope, Bush.
Oh, wow. Even during Bush, she had to maybe she probably predicted a lot of the shit liberty.
Guilty, Liberal Victims and Their Assaults on America. That's in 2009.
See, these
Never trust a liberal over 3, especially a Republican.
These are core, the titles. They're so Fox News.
I kind of want to read some of these.
Yeah.
And just review them.
I read Mark Levin's book.
I have not, I I did buy. Whose book did I buy?
You
that
know, I liked
actually
Mark the Lin
enjoyed?
because he was entertaining when he would like his heart condition wasn't too bad, so he would like bomb on these like libs that would like call him in, like these low IQ liberals. So
Hmm.
you'd just be like insulting them. Like it was so cringe. Like, listen, when I was in high school, I used to like listen to a lot of cringe talk radio. Like even in class, I would be like, "Let me educate you," because I was like trying to like mimic Mark Levin. I know it's so cringe even just admitting that, but I was like, I was such a shit in high school. Like, I was like, I was like, I had this politics class, and I was like, let me educate you. Like, I would always say that. I was like, piss off my teacher. It was, oh
I would
man,
do similar stuff when I was in college, so don't feel too
yeah.
bad.
You would call him like Matt Damon, Matt Demon.
No, but I would definitely be willing to strike up a debate or play devil's advocate in my
Yeah,
con law class.
yeah. Like Mark Levin, you would like call him Matt Demon.
How did you not become a fedora tipper?
There was a few like I can like see like in my life, there was like a few, like if I went down certain paths, I could have been that. Did I listen to Lowell Green? I haven't listened to Lowell Green. Then I started, I didn't want to listen to Rush Limbaugh. Like you gotta admit, Rush Limbaugh was pretty base though. He was pretty much he was
I
pretty
mean,
base.
without Rush Limbaugh, you don't get
Yeah,
most of today's right-wing media personalities.
100%. There's like a little like a dominoes chain between like Rush Limbaugh and the right stuff.
Oh, absolutely. That's
Yeah,
probably very much the case.
line between like Rush Limbaugh and Mikey and
Uh,
no, I'm kidding. Well, maybe not, but I'm
but
kidding.
I'm going to take 2 seconds to go to the bathroom, so Gio, please keep the audience entertained.
Yeah, sure. So anyways, I had a few notes here about national divorce, what is reaction. I think that there is something about, again, this is old territory, but there is something about the foundation of a civilization and tradition that very much is living and is not living in the sense of like living tree, like if you're talking about the American Constitution, there's like the living tree doctrine. I mean that tradition is something perennial within society, even if that society, by virtue of its own spirit, becomes something fundamentally different and by change of technology and so forth. There is something there that is perennial. But reaction and tradition is something different than conservatism. Conservatism is by definition must be a creature of the winter. It must be something that is trying desperately to preserve what a manifestation of that tradition that existed within the past, but by definition cannot be brought into the future because tradition is something that has within it a future orientation. And I think that that's a problem with, conservatives, especially in America or in North America in general, because Canada is, definitely even more of a worst example of this in that you are trying to preserve something that by definition, because conservatives consent to the predicates of the libs, of their enemies, essentially, they can't, it's an impossible task. It's like literally a Sisyphean task. And so when you do get these discourses about national divorce, it's not only is it consenting to that decline by saying that it's irredeemable, so let the libs have their own states, let the libs have their own separate entities, which by the way already kind of exists anyways. I mean, liberals and conservatives in America, I mean conservatives are liberals, but let's say left wingers and the conservatives in America pretty much do live totally separate lives. But an acceleration of that would already admit what we already knew, right? So I
Many
think
such
like,
cases.
yeah, many such cases.
Actually, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just got back.
Oh no, I was talking about living tradition versus conservatism.
Oh,
But I
cool,
was gonna
yeah.
shill that I want to work on an article that I might have out by tomorrow or Saturday, most likely Saturday. That will be about well, it's about like the dating discourse and incels, but it's gonna be about I believe the nature of desire. So hopefully that will pay off. We'll see where that goes. Yeah. So anyways, did we
Wow.
have anything more to talk about? We had a lot of things to talk about, but like we'll
I like how
save
you're
it for
casually flipping through a notebook.
yeah, yeah.
I like that you have notes. I don't actually have notes when I do this stream.
Sometimes I don't have notes, but then yeah, sometimes I have notes, most times I don't. But it depends. If you're talking about like one specific thing, I'll have notes. Like I had a bunch of notes when we do like the media review things.
Yeah. I did take, for all the movie reviews that we've done, I have notes for.
Yeah. But it's kind of wild though, like Patrick Deneen attacking Lomez. Because like I know you want to like save it, but like it's wild because everyone thought, like I remember back in like 2018, like, you know, I remember back when I was still writing for Thermidor, like people like when Deneen came out with like Why Liberalism Failed, that was like a huge deal for us. And I think like Deneen just
it
like
still is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very good book.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I think Deneen just like totally misconstrues his readership. You know, it's kind of like Gordon Ramsay saying like, "You've totally misjudged a market, Joe," about that Joe Nagy guy in Ohio. I think it was Ohio, or was it Idaho? I forget. The guy with the the bistro. He's like, "You totally misjudged a market." It's like Patrick Deneen like totally misjudged his market. Like he just pissed off the frogs that supported him. You know, because we all thought that Patrick Deneen for a time was essentially like writing for the frogs, but he's not writing for the frogs. So I don't know who he's writing about. It's kind of like Rod Dreyer. It's like, who's going to write for anymore? It's like,
I mean, he's still going to write for the American Conservative in the same way
Yeah.
that Deneen will still write for First Things.
Yeah.
And will, you know, go to conferences at universities to talk about integralism and its political format alongside Adrian Vermeule and others. Like, he's secured in his position. He's okay with his station. There are some people that realize that maybe we don't, well, like I said this in the Substack, So You Want to Talk to Frogs, about sort of the interface between the anonymous talking to the more establishment credentialed figures and vice versa, because there's always going to be animosity. There's animosity that Deneen has because some anonymous figure, Lomez, managed to get published in First Things, basically his own backyard. And at the same time, there's animosity that people like ourselves have towards them because we want their jobs, because they're gatekeepers, they hold people back, and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
and
I recommend Patrick Deneen's job.
I would love Patrick Deneen's job. I would love Rod Dreyer's job, where I have to like just churn out easy boomer content for the American Conservative for the rest of my life.
100%.
And if all else goes bad in my life, I'll flee to some Eastern European country and I'll be fine. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a big takeaway I thought out of this, is that because Lomez's article is short, Skeptical Waves has it narrated. It's only like 7 minutes long if you want to listen to it. And it cites normies. It doesn't cite anything like that. I mean, Pinker's referenced. I mean, it's not like it's a ridiculous article. And as we mentioned, I think at the very beginning, is that there were people that talked about this, you know, in 2016, in 2015, 2014, that are more or less citing the same people about safetyism, the effeminization of the workplaces, the Hitchens were both referenced. I mean, these things, it was very tame. It's not like he's citing Francis Parker Yockey about his case about the Longhouse. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
He's not citing, I'm trying to think.
He's not citing Siege to make his point.
He's not saying James Mason. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not citing
Hanania was referenced. He was like, no, it was calm, it was tame, it was a professionally well done article. But because Lomez doesn't use his real name or face, ergo the enemy has presented itself, and it is anonymous, and it is a part of the vagabond of troll demons. So, you know, heaven forbid.
Christ, troll demon. Like, I just,
some of my best friends happen to be anonymous troll demons, but you know.
Show your face, troll demon. That's like, I love what Peterson said that. That's like, unleashed so much meme fodder.
You absolute coward.
You absolute coward. How dare you? I had this like,
reveal yourself, coward. Come out of the shadows.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
But I was going to say something about, I was going to say something about Jordan and Michaela. How do you pronounce her name? Michaela?
Michaela Peterson?
Yeah, you know that scene in The Color Purple where the possessed, like, with the father and the... Never mind. And Jordan's, like, trying to fight her. like, no, Michaela, no. But he's like, like, never mind, no, not gonna. He's gonna go there.
Oh Lord,
there's
have
some weird
mercy.
things happening between those two. But
You don't say.
but anyways, super chats.
Yeah, let's go
All
towards.
right, so send your super chats before we end the stream. So,
yes, you have the entropy linked in the description, and let's go through the
is
rest of them.
Michaela fat enough? She's all right. She's not that great, but like she's got a good body. But like,
Uncanny Valley Peterson.
yeah, she's got that uncanny valley look. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, let's go.
Plus, she's a
very
Wendigo,
top.
so that's not gonna.
She's she's a cryptid now.
She's a Wendigo.
Okay.
Don't listen. Do not Google Jordan Peterson Wendigo psychosis.
Oh well.
But it affects Canadians. So there's another leaf of another political persuasion that hates Peterson that's probably going through Wendigo psychosis right now. But masking it through rehab. I'm talking about Keffels. Keffels going to rehab.
Really?
But it's probably Wendigo psychosis.
Oh well. Good for.
It's always us Canadians. So one day I will say that I have to go to rehab, but it will be Wendigo psychosis.
When you say you have to go to rehab, it'll be that we finally get you into America.
Yeah, true. It'll be after I visit Algonquin Park and try to go through the Tom Thompson Trail. But really, I will have been bitten by a Wendigo, and I'll have to go through Wendigo psychosis treatment. Listen, Spasticus, don't remind me that she is another Italian Canadian.
An early psychiatrist to refer to a mental condition in which patients felt possessed by cannibalistic tendencies.
Yeah, but it's real though.
I believe it.
It's actual Wendigos. It's not like
this explains their raw meat deal or their carnivore diet.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm saying that Peterson was bitten by an actual Wendigo, not this psychology bullshit.
And tried to self-medicate with benzos, and here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
God, what a tragedy. I'm actually really upset though, because he goes through the most like Dostoevsky style of suffering.
Yeah,
in the most Christian sense of the word. And
like total turbo suffering.
And then decides to sell out.
Yeah, and I think I have it bad with like my chronic I had sciatica for many years. That's nothing compared to like Peterson unironically did suffer more like heroic feats of suffering. But the problem is like I don't know.
But rather than finding God, you decided to sell out and have dinners with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you'd figure Peterson like he'd get some guidance from his friend Jonathan Pajot.
You'd think Pajot would like drag him to church. I would pray that happens, but nevertheless,
I feel like Pajot can't though, because like Peterson's at like such a level. It's like. Plus, I think Peterson's probably got handlers around him too, like his daughter.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, he's probably got a whole team. Like Ben Shapiro just like airlifted a media team for him.
It almost at this point, I feel like Peterson looks at the world like Ivan does and the brothers Karamazov.
Holy crap.
Pajot should just simply answer with a kiss on the cheek and show goodness and love. But all right, the first super chat of today is from Captain Smith for £10. Thank you so much.
No!
Hey, Prude, have you seen Britannica Politica's Callum from Lotus Eater's recent video where he visited Luhansk? He met your Russian doppelganger who turned out to be a Wagner soldier. Well, I haven't.
He's been volunteering for Wagner.
Well, I have not seen it, but I guess I'll go watch it if there's a Wagner PNC.
That's pretty ballsy of like Lotus of Carl to like send his top guy to Luhansk.
I'm surprised that he went. And he's also visited Afghanistan, and he's just like sold all of the stuff that he has, from everything from like badges to rugs. I have not watched the
guy. I think I watched a video of him with Sir Nigel. Sorry, Lord Nigel.
Oh, I have not seen it, Captain Smith, but I will make it a priority this weekend to watch it. If anything, just to see my Russian doppelganger. But yeah, I mean, I follow Callum on Twitter. I quite like what he's up to.
Nice.
I mean, he's an interesting character. MG for $1.99 US. GeoForce Prude to watch Xavier Renegade Angel. I actually answered this one in the chat. I've seen Xavier Renegade Angel, so
Oh yeah,
one of these days we should do
I should watch it.
we should do that, yeah, an XRA retrospective.
Sorry, Lord Miles. Fuck, I had a
Oh
brain
yeah,
fart.
Lord
Yeah.
Miles Rutledge. I don't know how I feel about him.
No?
I
Why, you think he's a glowy?
If only slightly.
I interviewed him.
Oh,
I mean, in BTR, not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember that episode. I actually tuned into that one.
Oh yeah, it was a good one.
It was a good one.
I like how he like he like tries to like bitch slap like his own like British culture. He's like, Afghanistan was less dangerous than going into a pub in Luton. Going into a pub in East London. Afghanistan was less dangerous. Like,
there's probably a drop of truth in that. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, there is probably.
Robert Pin for $5 Canadian. Jolly Heretic had an interview with an heiress of Kellogg's last hour. She is interesting. Oh yeah, because the stream was about female autism.
Oh, did Jolly Heretic get her to say GOI slop?
No idea.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
But I'll have to tune into his Odyssey channel where he uploads all of his interviews, more or less. Yeah. Unless it's still up when we get off the air. Yeah.
I don't watch enough of Jolly Heretic to like,
Dutton is an interesting character.
Yeah.
I like him. I like the little sort of like costumey gags he does. But I mean, he will take a few inklings of data, and like any like autistic white man, he will simply notice the pattern and then take it to its most based or ridiculous conclusion. I quite enjoy it.
Well, Alex said she's an insufferable faker. So
an insufferable faker. Okay. Well, I'm scrolling up to get to the super chat, so I'll have to see them.
Oh, she's pretending to be trad, but she's a heiress for Kellogg's. How can she pretend to be trad?
An heiress of the Kellogg family.
Like that
would be like someone from the Walton family being like, "Oh yeah, I need to like buy go live on a farm." It's like, bro, your family owns most of American farmland besides Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Mr. F.A. Tuesday.
Why did my mind go right to the Waltons, actually?
Because they're evil.
No, but I mean the show The Waltons.
Oh, well, good night, John Boy. Probably why, because it's a trad sort of homesteader kitsch.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion. We probably need to do climate lockdowns. The Earth's climate has rapidly destabilized in the last 7 years or so.
What does a climate lockdown look like?
Like no travel, I mean,
I agree with that. That's based.
Yeah, like no cross-border travel. Like, are we saying death to the Schengen area? Are we saying death to international commodity, like all international trade?
Yeah.
What does it look like?
That's based.
Because the closest thing we got was during the
Linkola pill.
Basically, right? But the closest thing we got was that ever so memeable, like nature is healing, we are the virus sort of irony shit posting in 2020.
Oh yeah, about the kelp in the certain Asian tourist spots.
Yeah, or whales visiting in Italy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wow, like the Venice canals, they're actually blue water. You can see like the bottom. It's like nature is healing, we are the virus. So it's just like, My problem with most things that would actually reasonably do well to tackle climate issues is that the left utilizes like environmentalism as more or less as just a gateway projects for more anti-humanism make work projects for their own globalization.
Yeah.
Does that mean like the right wing does need a more
there's a base version of this.
There's what?
There's a base version of this climate lockdown.
Yeah. What is it?
Like, you finish your point first. I cut you off.
Well, my issue is just that like the left's answer is always more make work globalism, and we need more climate refugees.
We work globalism.
Yeah,
that's like parallax optics, like the we work aesthetic.
Yeah, we work globalism for quote unquote the environment. I mean, just imagine Greta Thunberg telling you to like end your life forever. That's the future.
Yeah.
But instead of Greta Thunberg, it's like some I guess Cameroonian climate refugee telling you to do that.
Yeah,
because that's what's good for you. Like imagine zero HP likes grass.
Akila Mbembe is going to tell you to.
To enter the carbon reduction booth and end it all.
It's funny because in Necropolitics he does talk about environmental racism.
Of course.
So Akila Mbembe from Cameroon would be like telling you need a climate lockdown. What I dislike is rural Canadian. All this shit's gonna be harder. Well, what province you live in? Your nudge unit. Saskatchewan. I'm guessing Saskatchewan. No, but okay. My base version of this would be James Howard Kunstler had this this interview where he talks about it. I believe with Collapse Theorist or Collapse Chronicles, where he's like, the thing is though, you'd have to like radically transform your way of life to where travel would become like a super luxury. Globalization would have to be tapered down to like the basic necessities, and people would have to live not in like the whole like walkable city, like 20-minute city. Like I feel like a lot of this is like there's like the globalist bug hive, like 20-minute city that is like total World Economic Forum.
Well, yeah, where it's meant for
Agenda
like a city
21.
of 20 million people.
Yeah.
The right-wing version, I think, has always been scaled down.
The right-wing version is like the Piazza model of someone like Wrath of Neon. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there is a right-wing version to this, but I feel like the problem is when it gets memeified to where people like will have like the right wing will also eat the bugs and live in the pod, but the pod is like the Varg Vikender's like rural Hobbit Shire. But like that being said, I do feel that we in the future, okay, it's climate. If my old man here's like listens to this episode, he's gonna like have a fit. He's gonna like go into my like he's gonna like have an argument with me for like 2 hours at least. But I do think that there is a degree of anthropogenic global warming that's happening. But I don't think it's like as civilization ending as people think. I think that pollution.
You'd also have to deglobalize most of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that's base though. That needs to happen. I feel like there is a degree of anthropogenic global warming, but I think that pollution and other environmental catastrophes will probably get us much quicker than like a slight increase in like global warming. But I do feel that we would have to re-examine
our entire way
globalization and the way we live in general. I do feel that that's going to be something that's a real possibility in maybe not probably at the end of our lifetime, probably if some of us
we'll live to see. We will live to see, I think, some of those greater consequences. I don't think the anthropogenic warming part will be the issue.
No, it'll be other things. No.
Yeah.
Microplastics.
The microplastics for sure will definitely be one. I don't know how mankind recovers from that. That may be the cellular Hiroshima that actually I think something else is already the cellular Hiroshima, but Lord only knows. I wrote about that in Substack. You can
look at Bourgeois B. This is exactly what my old man would say to me too.
What?
The World Economic Forum's gotten to you. That's something exactly what my old man would say to me. He said that to me when I said, like, maybe anthropogenic global warming, maybe like there's some validity to it. Like in terms of like the base.
There is validity that I'm trying to be very careful for YouTube purposes. There is definitely, I don't think it's like the 99% all agree on XYZ model, but like you have to be pretty damn stupid to not think that mankind has had a deliberate negative impact on the environment.
Yeah, exactly. Just Mr. Diaz, the right opinion, Walkable says this is a scam. Well, I mean, it is a scam, but like the only way to have walkable cities is if you had all those other base things. Like immigration would have to slow to a crawl. You'd have to have selective immigration.
A homogenous society like Japan.
You'd have to have homogenous society.
A walkable city and probably probably a 20-minute city, but it's public transportation's usable, and no one's shooting up heroin on the late night train ride on their way home.
But to quote the scholar, the absolute intellect of our time, Scott Adams, there's no fixing this. There's no fixing it.
Bartholomew the Red for $6.99 Canadian.
$6.99 Canadian. Okay, no, I'm not going to do that.
With regards to beauty, that handsome rich wasps are the villains in 1980s movies, while ugly diverse nerds are the heroes, was an incredibly successful psyop.
It was.
And I mean, if you want a further breakdown of this, I mean, Black Pilt's actually got a pretty damning take on Die Hard on this issue about but
look at this from Frazier. Walkable cities involve the MAID program. Oh God! First of all, listen. In Canada, walkable cities they can't be
action,
a thing.
but for MAID.
Yeah. Oh God. No, but in Canada it becomes harder because everything's way more spaced out. I feel like in North America in general. Then again, like I mean, in big cities you could have it, but like, would you want it in big cities? Like, would you want to have 20-minute Toronto? I don't think so. Um,
Mm.
20-minute Brampton would be like, I don't know. It'd be
I don't
to
know if I
make a
could get
joke.
anywhere in Dallas for in 20 minutes. You know, I don't think that's possible. Just how big that place. It's slowly turning into like these mega regions. Like we're slowly getting the cosmopolis world city that
Yeah,
Spangler described. But you telling me if I could get from anywhere in Dallas in 20 minutes, one, total revamp of infrastructure. Two, you would need to reduce the population of that city by at least 1 million people.
yeah.
Which I mean could be done. But I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We can't look
Oh
into that. But
boy.
yeah, I mean, in regards to this has been the case forever. It's always been like this is why if you want to have a good time, look up the real statistics of crime in New York City and then watch an episode of Law and Order.
Yeah.
It's always white criminals. It's never Steve Saylor approved racially
Oh
accurate crime
boy.
statistics of Law and Order. Because why can't you do that? It's like, another episode where it's another black guy that got arrested by Elliot Stapler and what's her name? I think
Mariska Haggerty.
they get really tired of
Oh,
Mariska
Benson.
Haggerty's character. Yeah,
Yeah.
Elliot, Stabler and Benson arrested another
Yeah.
black gangbanger.
It wouldn't be like LAPD Blue or like
Hill Street
like,
Blues.
Yeah, or like NYPD Blue would be like the it wouldn't be like the Shield, put it that way.
The closest thing you get remotely, and I mean, even then, it's still woke as hell. Like another example, like Yellowstone, when we talk about like shit libbery and like white
Yellow soy.
television and yellow soy, like all that sort of like woke shit libbery that's in sort of like conservative television shows.
Yeah.
I mean, look no further than Blue Bloods. We have
Oh
a still
God,
fully
yeah.
intact Roman Catholic Irish family that, I mean, which let's face it, the Irish Catholics still pretty have a large domination of the NYPD. But I
Yeah.
mean, let's take a wholly intact,
The racist
religiously
Irish
attended-
Catholic cops in New York.
and then we're going to talk about body cams and like racial violence and talk about how they need to do better. I mean, that's another show that needs to get its proper right wing breakdown. But absolutely, Mr. Red, it's so true.
Yeah.
Space trains for $5 Australian. Friends down under. Geo, imagine Oz, but it is set in a future political prison and all the gangs are factions of the E.
I could make a lot of jokes there, but of course, like TRS would be like the Aryan Brotherhood. BAP would be the vital. They would have like
they don't all the chalk.
Yeah.
That you would need to get into the Iron Yard.
Who would own the tits though? The tits. Well, us. I don't know. Like who'd be more inclined to be drug dealers? The Papists? I don't know.
No.
I'm trying to think.
Which side of the E-right has the most?
No, the eggs would be the tits though. It wouldn't be actual drugs. It would be like raw eggs.
There you go.
Yeah. That would be like I could imagine a show like Oz, but all the gangs are like post like FEMA camp right wing. Blue Caesar putting all the chuds in prison.
Just call it like Hogan's Heroes, but it's less like all the right wing post liberal guys are in this like German POW camp ran by Pete Buttigieg and his husband.
Oh, look at this by Nikki Malayo. Gio and Prudy, welcome to come to the Philippines. Maybe one day.
Asia's been the one place that's super vague, but I mean, I've not been to any Asia.
Trad guys with Filipino wives.
Oh, we're not libertarians, Gio. We're not libertarians, we're sex tourists.
Oh, God. Oh, man. Post nut clarity.
Oh my gosh, look at his profile picture. Mr. Peanut goes to war. Some base 1940s planters propaganda.
That's great.
Post nut clarity for $20 Canadian.
$20
Canadian.
Yeah. Oh, Canadian. There you
go. Can't listen due to work, but I wanted to ask Gio, what is the agenda for when you finally meet Prude? A little game of scope or briscola, followed by a light meal.
Prosciutto with melon and a nice
happy Lent to you both. Well, whenever the American government
pretty soon,
finally,
actually.
stops allowing the non-vaccinated to come into the country?
I think May.
May?
I think
Hold
that's
on.
yeah. He said it's either like
U.S. travel restrictions
lifting in May. I
2023
think.
COVID. Entry restrictions. Yeah, that's what I want.
I think they said May. They're going to get rid of all of them.
Well, the House voted to end it as well, but
yeah.
Let's see what travelinglifestyle.net. Thank you so much. Let's see here. February 8th. Well, that passed a bill, but that hasn't done anything. There's not been really anything that has changed it that I can see on this news. Hold on. I know the House voted to do it, but I mean, I don't know if you guys can still come in.
I think they said May they're going to get rid of the travel restrictions.
Well, if that's the case, Gio, then I will happily find a place to meet up IRL.
They say even now, like, they don't ask you anymore, the Americans.
Well, you should
they don't care. They don't give a shit. But in Canada, it can come back though, because they don't care about that the Can app anymore.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I can go back to Canada.
Let's see here. Luthemplar for $5 US, our good friend over at the Restoration Bureau says, I can do paintings, and he does a look. Did you know the English are possibly the first people to paint their own civilization as future ruins for others to find?
Really, eh?
Really?
I didn't know that.
Hmm.
What does he mean by that?
Yeah, I would like more expand on that. Elaborate, David Lynch. No.
Because like the English, their painting traditions very like not very different, but they certainly different than the Italians. I mean, I think that's why watercolor like caught on in England more than like even oils, because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of great English and Scottish painters, but the watercolor I feel is like the British medium because of the particularities of the landscape and the moodiness of them. You know what I mean? Of the English countryside.
Yeah.
Even like the way that Turner approached the landscape and the seascape, look like venturing obviously to Italy multiple times, the way that he, abstracted the landscape, the way he even put in elements, of, very much like celebrating the, modernism, painting trains, painting industrial works. Is there an Englishness to it? Of course, the British never had very well developed they never had very well developed symphonies because they just let the Germans basically make all their music. I forget if that's true or not, but yeah, I mean, if Cringe Walker wants to
expand on this, I would I would love to know more. But until then, Paul Moosefoot for $1.99 US says, "Who is the anonymous men puppeteering JPB?"
I can't say it on YouTube.
Yeah, I can't say it on YouTube, so that gives you a pretty good
Ben
idea.
Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro.
No, the Wendigo that possessed him. That's who's puppeteering him.
Probably some agents of a Israeli deep state. Who knows? I'm surprised.
It is funny how he like grew to prominence, though.
Just
like,
go to Charles Johnson's Substack. I'm sure he's got a point about the Daily Wire.
You know what's funny? Isn't it like how much money is it to go to a Jordan Peterson lecture now? Like,
still pretty expensive.
No, I think it's like $300 or something for the cheap seats.
No,
I paid $90 to see the Zizek debate. I got off with the steal, man.
Oh, you went to it?
Yeah, I told you this. I went to it. Yeah, I live tweeted it.
Shit, now I gotta go find your tweets.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Man, it's a lot of money though, I heard.
Well, he's on tour, right? Or JPB speaking tour.
He's always on money. He's always on
events. Jordan Peterson. Okay, so he's got events. Remaining ones, he's got. Well, that one already passed. So let's take a look here. He's got one in. Let's just take Tulsa. Well, this one already. Well, that one already passed. So let's go to one that hasn't happened yet, which will be March 8th in Tampa Bay, Florida. Accept and continue. Really? Well, let's see here. The ones closest to the stage, if I were to, well, most of them are already sold out. But say close to it would be $125.75
Really, eh?
plus fees. I don't think he's that expensive, but I mean, I don't know how much the front
I remember
row
like seeing a
costs.
tweet about his like how expensive he is. Like I remember the tweet was like $300 or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, even that's like $135 if you want to get closer to where the mix is, the sound mixer. Interesting. Well, I
That's
don't think
not
I would
too
ever
bad.
go to one of those events, but you
No,
know.
I just went because of like it was like the debate, right? He didn't even him and Zizek didn't even like sign anything after. Like they just pieced it. It was a
Well,
bummer.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Fishy Frenzy for £5. When will the Haddiths of Mika Groiper be covered on Digital Archipelago?
Maybe if we find if Fishy, if you can DM me a good archive of Mika Groiper's tweets. Is he back though, or is he never coming back to Twitter? Maybe if Fishy, are you still there? Tell me if Mika is back on Twitter. I know he was like Long Knife and Joy for a little bit, but no, not like Carl. He had like another account that was like mimicking Carlsbad.
Yeah,
yeah,
because the Carlsbad social experiment was a resounding success.
I like Mika Groiper. Like just some takes I didn't like, you know, but yeah, Mika isn't on Twitter anymore. I know Smeed and Earth Rabbit came back. I don't know if Carlsbad will ever come back, but
I'm sure Martin is very happy to know that Smeed is back.
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces co-host is here.
I like Smeed. Maybe I shouldn't admit that in public, but
I like their spaces. I've had no problem with them.
I want to interview Smeed. Maybe I could tell Martin to put in a good word for me. That'd be terrible. I shouldn't. I don't know.
Just save it for DMs.
Save it for DMs.
Melon
Hail
for
Lord
$2.
Smeed.
Or Smeed must space. Melon for $2 says, "Has Gio ever heard of the beaver poster?"
Yes. Is that
it's Jay Burden's thing.
Jay Burden's thing.
And
Court of Law posting.
And Cody Browning sort of that's their great mascot. It's great. It's fantastic.
How did they end up on the beaver?
Oh, because there was that viral video. I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but there was that viral video of this like shitlib couple or whatever keeping beavers as pets, and the beaver just instinctually started building a dam, and Cody just took that as like a HDD shit post, and it's just basically become, Beaver Poster is an anon? Oh. Well, no, I don't know who Beaver Poster is.
I don't know what Beaver Poster is then. Weird. Is it true, Nikki, that the Italian mafia, they're getting picked apart? I can't believe that, man. That's terrible. Is the Camorra still powerful? Didn't they have like the GDP of fiat at one point, the Camorra?
No idea.
Did you see Zizek was in Compact Mag?
I saw that, yeah.
It was a pretty good article. But apparently, the reason that Zizek is transphobic is because he didn't read Mao's critique of Engels. according to Ulysses, yeah.
Beaver Poster made long format posts with a beaver. He's from Quebec. I tweeted Gio with a screen cap. Oh, perfect. Well, we can go find out more about that. Because I would love to know more.
The Mafia destroyed. Yeah, I heard the Mafia took a lot of hits in Australia. There used to be a big Italian Mafia presence in Australia.
All right.
They used to get that China White from Asia, from Bali, But there was actually a mini series about that. There was like a series. The one season covered that famous criminal in Australia, and it was played. I think what was his name, Benji. It was actually played by the guy who was in All Saints. Yeah. You know what's funny is that every cop show in Australia, they have a horny Italian guy as a cop.
I feel like that's required.
Yeah.
It's the last.
It's
the last bit of diversity hiring.
I've watched quite a bit of Australian shows. Man, that's terrible. But anyways, more super chats or?
Let me check Entropy. Let me refresh that real quick, and then we'll be probably good to go because I think that's it for super chats. Yeah, I think that is it. Okay. Well, Gio, what do you have going on?
Well, I'm hopefully this week I'll come out with that article, and I'm trying to debate what content minded to release, either a Pocket Crewmenins or Scott Manion's. Maybe Scott Manion's I'll release. And yeah, other than that, next week maybe we'll review the Daily Wire films on my channel. So
I am torrenting them right now.
yeah.
So that'll be fun to watch this weekend. I'm not gonna lie.
I can't believe they casted Vincent Gallo as a non-drug addict. I can't believe that.
But you interviewed who, the first gentleman? His name I can never pronounce.
Pocket Crewmenin?
Yeah, he's the in the Hidden Things, right? His Substack.
No, it's his Substack is I believe that's his name, Pocket Crewmenin. Yeah. He writes about we talk about Carl Schmitt and other things that he's written. So I'll have him on again too. He's pretty interesting.
Oh, I like him a lot. He comments quite often on my Substack, and I really appreciate.
Yeah, because he left Twitter. He loves you, man.
Stuff. Well,
yeah,
I need to have him on one of these days. But
I'll put in a good word.
He's a good guy. He's been commenting a lot more on my Substack as of late, and I was just like really thankful because like he's a much bigger account than I am in regards to Substack stuff. So I was like, oh, well, that's very nice.
That's because he left Twitter. He's got time.
I will be leaving Twitter as of this coming Monday on the 27th.
Really?
So, well, I said I was giving Twitter up for Lent. So
oh, there you go.
Look
at this, God. Sorry to interrupt you, Prude, but I can't let this slip. Brown Bunny is a fucking Kino film. I will ban you, God's Dominatrix. How dare you say that? Brown Bunny is true. Like I can't
Brown
listen.
Bunny,
Me and Kino Corner. Go to the content my Kino Corner. We review Brown Bunny. It is one of the only films that really, truly expresses male loneliness. Okay.
Oh God, it's a Vincent Gallo film.
It's one of his only films.
It's a mixed bag. Oh no, he's done quite a few.
I can't believe you, God's Domination. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. You're giving up.
No.
Giving up on Lent.
Oh no, well, for Twitter, I didn't want to be on Twitter as much, so I'm going to figure out a system to where I can still share what I'm doing, but I'm not going to do it. So I think I need to find and ask Dave what sort of bot he used to sort of auto tweet his stuff from Telegram to Substack, from Telegram to Twitter.
It's funny because that's what AA does with Telegram. It's all basically just his Twitter feed.
Yeah. Damn, this is a long stream. Oh, I should have been here for the last one where we hit 3+ hours after.
Yeah, man.
With no super chats.
Yeah, with Dave we did
we did almost 4 hours. We almost hit that magical unpopular opinions number.
Did you like that? Did you like my title from the pre-recorded?
The Jimmy thing.
Cool,
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you what were we going to name this stream on air.
Look at record. It's funny record demons because it's with God's Dominatrix. Geo, hey Prude, stop getting so heated. Also, Geo, I will ban you. Oh man, I love the Brown Bunny. It's a great film. I like Chloe 70.
Well, it is the year of the rabbit.
Yeah.
So
Chloe 70 was good in Boys Don't Cry. And Chloe 70 was I never watched the Mormon show. What was it called? Big Love? My mom used to watch that, Big Love. The Mormon
American drama series about
polygamy.
Bill Paxton is the patriarch of a Mormon. Yeah. I did not watch that. Well said, Chloe.
It's all right.
From 2006 to 2011. Wow, that had
a long time.
5 seasons?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I'm on season 6 of The Shield, so finally.
But last but not least, Spasticus Autisticus for £2.
Sneed,
you say?
What do you have coming up this Saturday? Oh, we have Lomez.
I am interviewing Lomez.
Oh my God, he changed his profile. I love when he does that. I love this little guy. No, it's literally about geopolitics. I love it. Stop. You're being mean now. Come on, say it. And then you say no. What was the other one with Giga Chad?
That's the only one I remember. If there was more memes that
I think I did one. Say the word. I love this little frog. I forget the one I did. I have to look it up.
But I should change my
forget
profile picture to this every time we do.
People
Super
save their
chats.
threads. I forget half the threads I wrote.
I don't do a lot of threads. I'm not a thread
Yeah,
head.
you don't.
This
Me
is
neither.
why I'm terrible at Twitter.
I need to get back to threads, but like, I don't do threads because I just like doing the short blog post on Telegram. That's why you have to follow my Telegram. I'm also at 5K on my channel on YouTube. So
Formerly
please subscribe.
Chucks. There you go, forbidden anthropologist. I said it.
There you go, formerly Chucks. So please subscribe if you haven't. Jenna Productions, right there in the title. Jenna Productions. I'm so I'll you gotta like listen. The only way I will not be pissed is if I do eventually get to 1K, 10K one day. Then I'll probably let go of the fact that I built up you know what channel to 10K, and then
you'll get there. You'll get there.
Hopefully. You're almost there.
Yeah, I'm getting this year I'm aiming at by the end of 2023, I hope to be at 15K.
Maybe you'll hopefully get to it by the summer.
I'm hoping for it.
Yeah.
So as for announcements on my end, it'll be a pre-recorded conversation. It won't be live, but I'll be recording with Lomez tomorrow or on Saturday. I will also be recording tomorrow some stuff for patrons to keep up my obligations of both article reviews and some lengthier Substack stuff coming in the future. I will probably I have some notes I've started taking on a very long-winded BoJack Horseman rant that I feel is long overdue because that received some positive comments when we talked about it last week. So I'm going to do that probably the same as well. I'm going to give a long recorded rant in the same way that you did your Walking Dead talk.
Nice, yeah.
As for that, I'm currently reading Buildings and Power by Thomas Marcus, and then I need to schedule with Dime so we can finally have our discussion about that fun book, What Went Wrong, the creation and collapse of the Black Jewish Alliance.
Nice.
So that'll be a fun. I don't know where we're gonna stream that or record that, where that's gonna go, but
Odyssey exclusive.
That'll probably be an Odyssey exclusive
Or paywall, yeah. Oh, Substack, you get away with it.
Yeah, publicly. I probably can. Well, they'll probably be an hour free, and then the full thing.
That's what
and then after that, I'm actually going to be talking. So this will be a fun announcement. I guess I'll give it here. I'm going to be talking with the guys over at New Founding next week, probably on Tuesday.
Nice.
I'm going to probably be talking to Santiago and a few others over there because there's some opportunities that I think is important about. We talk about building all the time. These guys are trying to build a job opportunity talent network to connect people to non-ideologically captured jobs and businesses and things like that. So that's a plan that we want to do. And I live in Texas, so I thought, why not visit them? So we may do the talk in person. If not, it'll be just over live, but I'll keep you guys updated and abreast on that. But I think that these guys are doing something good.
Nice.
So yeah, more on that to come, but those are just some announcements for now.
Oh, I have a big announcement.
Go for it.
Oh yeah, my book deal. But this Saturday actually, I'm finally recording with Trad Westernheart, Brendan Hurd. So hopefully it won't be too much of a bloodbath. So no, it'll be good.
Isn't this the long-standing thing that you and Astral have been on about?
Yes. Yeah, it's funny because last year me and Trad Westerner were like, okay, we should do this, but then I don't know, something just kept getting in the way. And
and Disgraced Propagandist put out your episode.
Oh, he finally did. Okay,
yeah, and the picture he uses is something else. I don't know where the cover art came from or who did it, but it's something else.
He shared a tweet. Or I think he did some AI thing.
Yeah. So, wow. If you
oh my god.
Like this is nuts. Hold on. Let me see if I can share it on screen real quick. Yeah, let's go put this on. I'm not going to share the audio. Oh my god. But look at that. Look at that.
That's crazy. That's insane.
This could be like the picture that someone would use for like a, pod playlist when you're like a 16th century Ottoman that, is coming up with new ideas.
I look like a Turk here.
You get the fez. It makes sense.
Oh, that's insane.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, I have to promote. Oh my god.
Oh, Henry VIII
Oh,
energy.
that's too good. That's too good.
Oh, so good. All right, ladies and gents, we will see
All
you
right.
all next week at Geo's channel. I think we're doing the movie reviews.
Yep, Daily Wire Films.
Yep, 3 Daily Wire movies. Prude and Geo Go to the Movies is back.
Nice. Yeah, when was the last time we went to the movies?
I think the last time we went to the movies is when we reviewed. Well, we reviewed
Skinnamarink.
Lane not too long ago. Oh yeah, Skinnamarink. We did it
Yeah,
last
Lane.
week.
Yeah,
For
sorry.
45 minutes.
That was pretty good. That was a good episode.
That was a lot of fun. I don't think I've laughed that much on the show for that
a little bit.
episode.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Good times were had by all. I'm stuffed.
Oh man, all laughs edition.
All laughs edition.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
All right, ciao.
See you, gents.
God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.